listening to UPRN, United Public Radio Network, coming to you live on 105.3 right up to 107.7 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. UPRNtalkradio.com.
Looking for something new in sci-fi or fantasy? Check out what Brandon Sanderson, Orson Scott Card, Nnedi Okorafor, and others chose as the best news stories of the year in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future Anthology. From 24 award-winning authors and illustrators, plus art and writing tips and bonus stories. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Buy your copy at galaxypress.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold.
All right, everybody, it's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcast. Yes, it is that time of year again. There's a show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards, UFO Undercover, in the category of entertainment. UFO Undercover brings you some of the most revealing and current research that is being done with respect to alien abductions and contact. Host Joe Montaldo has been an abduction researcher for over 35 years and is uniquely qualified to bring you live interviews with some of the most well-known researchers in ufology. Go to podcastawards.com to nominate UFO Undercover in the category of entertainment. That's podcastawards.com, and please take a moment and get out and vote.
All right, everybody, it's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcasts. There's an amazing show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. The Outer Realm in the category of Best Female Hosted Podcast. The Outer Realm is a very popular show hosted by Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano, which boasts millions of listeners each week who are well known for and have been complimented on their very laid-back, roundtable style of interviewing. Together, this dynamic duo brings you the best of the best with guests from around the world who are well-versed within their respective fields of ufology, paranormal, esoteric, and other areas of high strangeness, and more. So go to podcastawards.com to nominate The Outer Realm in the category Best Female Hosted Podcast. That's podcastawards.com, and please take a moment and do it now.
It's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcasts. There's an amazing show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards, Writers and Illustrators of the Future Podcast, in 3 categories: education, storyteller drama, and art. For 4 years, the Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast has provided advice and tips from international best-selling authors, world-class artists, contest judges and winners, and industry professionals based on the world-famous Writers of the Future contest created in 1983 by L. Ron Hubbard to help the aspiring writer and artist no matter their age. It is dedicated to the future of storytelling and art by showing that it is never too late to start, and those who make it are those who never give up. Go to podcastawards.com to nominate the Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast in any or all of the 3 categories: education, storyteller drama, and art. That's podcastawards.com, and please take a moment and go out and vote now.
Hey there. It's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcasts. There's an amazing show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. The News on the Flip Side, in the category of politics and news. News on the Flip Side is a much different news and political program which is not deemed as opinion news. Listen as Joe Montaldo brings to you just the facts from trusted sources which will allow you, the people, to make up your own minds on the various stories being reported on. Go to podcastawards.com to nominate News on the Flip Side in the category of politics and news. That's podcastawards.com, and please take a moment and do it now.
Oh, wait, sorry about that, Ericka. Okay, that guy looked like he was stoned, man. I mean, I'm just saying, even though it was me, he looked like he was stoned or something. So, all serious and shit. Before anybody writes to me, yes, I do news. You know, I do investigating reporting. I run 2 research organizations. Yes, I do dress. I know it's hard on people who know me in the daytime because you see me in jeans and a t-shirt or jeans and a shirt. You never see me in a suit or slacks. I know. But if you see me at night, that's how I'm dressed. Yeah, you know, you ever hear the guy who says, I'm more relaxed? I'm very comfortable dressed like this in the evening times. just because I'm good looking. That's all there is to that. Anyway, before we get carried away, don't forget, people, go out and vote. We have 4 shows up for Podcast Awards this year. This is my 4th year in a row with 2. And I don't get me wrong. See, we was just talking about this with Ericka a minute ago, my guard dogs. I've gotten runner-up and I've gotten a couple of different other things. No. I want to win. I went good. Number 1. Y'all know I don't like to lose, people. And I'm going to bitch all year if I lose. All year. It's all you're going to have to look forward to. Every show I do, somewhere in the show, I'm going to have to bitch because we lost. I'm just trying to help you people out so that go out and vote. It's podcastawards.com. Go over and vote. If you can't find it, go over to the United Public Radio homepage, uprntalkradio.com, and you can find it on there. Anything else you're looking for, you can probably find over there. And there are people working on the site, so there's always changes being made daily. So just keep up with it. And yes, I'm working on it as well. So anyway, we have a very special guest with us tonight. She seems very, very interesting, kind of enchanting. So I can't wait to really, really get to talk to her. Well, I was looking at some of the places she's been and some of the stuff she's done, and she's just interesting. I can't help myself. I like interesting people. I hate boring guests. And being that I'm in the fields myself, it's always very, very nice to meet someone who's actually kind of knows what the hell they're talking about. Anyway, Michael, I was just ready to introduce a lady. You go splatting things on the side of the screen. You know what? Let me move this, by the way. So if anybody wants to get questions in and you're not on my messenger list, just go over to UFO Paranormal Radio on YouTube or God's, Extraterrestrials, God's, ET. Damn, you'd think I know this by now. God's, UFOs, and Extraterrestrials on YouTube as well. You can go either one of those places or any of our Facebook pages, and you can get hold to us. I believe, no, we're not on LinkedIn tonight. And if you're watching us on Roku, you can watch us, but you can't participate. You have to go to one of the chat groups. No, the only way you get on my messenger is if you're on my messenger. Yes, that way I know who you are and you're on my messenger. Yes, and you can text me all day long. If it's something I want to ask, or I will. If it's something I won't, I just will ignore you. How's that? Okay. I'm just going to be honest. Might as well be honest enough front before we get going tonight. So anyway, really? So you want to come up here and introduce Miss Ericka? You want to? Yeah, I'll let you come up here and introduce her, and you can do the introducing. Again, why don't y'all come over? You know what? Let me put it where I can actually see that wrong. And you can. What the hell's going on? It's gonna be one of these kind of nights, huh? I don't know what this is. If I touch anything lately, something goes a little weird. These are both brand new setups. I'm not sure. We're putting them back together. We're in the middle of putting up 2 new computers for the network. And they've been, how can I say this politely? Moody. There we go. Moody. Yes. Okay, here we go. It's going to be this kind of night. I'm just going to give the mic to Ericka in a few minutes. I'm just going to sit back and chill and let her talk. I know she does radio, so it should be a breeze for her and things along those lines. Yes. Anyway, we have Ericka, but I can't believe I just did that. Ericka, please say your last name for me, because obviously I forgot. In 30 seconds?
So I always joke the correct pronunciation of my last name is Boussarhane, because it comes from my husband. But because phonetically I needed to learn how to spell it, I pronounce it Boussarhane. And that's
Boussarhane. I think that's easier, Boussarhane. Well, no, you got the little A in there, sneaky. Yes, yeah. It's a little A and a little R there, sneaky.
I always say I'm related to the Boussards or the Boussards in New Orleans.
Yes, and that was one of the first questions that came up. Is she part of the Broussard family or any of the other families? There's a lot of B families. No. Okay, before anybody writes to me, I meant B like the letter B, not in class. I meant just the letter B, people. I already knew where that conversation was. I should have never said it that way. No, they just are. And, Boudreaux and stuff like it's all over southern Louisiana. What do you mean royalty? No, they're just part of, unless you're from Louisiana or you're from that's not even true. As long as you're from the deep South, you have a good understanding how backwards Louisiana is. And they do everything differently. And we relate by families, but not necessarily that you have to know the family. Somehow, if you got the last name, you should still tend to have those characteristics. And it could be a voice thing. It could be a certain look. It could be a certain walk. It could be a certain attitude. All people in the deep south of Louisiana have an attitude. Oh, yes. All of them. Oh, no, they do in Mobile and Pensacola, too, but not as bad. New Orleans, you just got an attitude. Like, we survived Katrina, bitches. What you going to do about that? I mean, seriously, they've got an attitude. Well, you know, that's something I'm getting ready to ask Ericka, because this was weird for us. So we were running a lot of investigations pre-Katrina. And then it was almost like, because, you know, the city was indulged in salt water for several weeks. It was almost like all the low-lying areas and even parts of Metairie and stuff like that, it was almost like it pushed all that, what energy, I guess we'll call it, into the French Quarter, because French Quarter is high ground. So for a while, when you went out, like on, you know, out ghost hunting or whatever they may be doing, it was just kind of dead and quiet. It was like the ghostie said, "No, I'm not hanging around with his 8 foot of salt. What? I'm out of here, man. I'm going somewhere else." But I don't understand, how could they all survive like in the French Quarter together? I mean, as a medium, that's got to be like a headache if you walk into a pack of them like that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, man.
Oh, it's okay. So, you know, it's interesting. I've always been very drawn to New Orleans. And so every time I would kind of drive into New Orleans, as soon as you see the trees, I would definitely feel an energy shift. After Katrina, you know, I was downtown, you know, New Orleans and at the casino, you know, all those things. And I would agree with you. You know, I've walked around those streets in New Orleans to the wee hours of the night by myself in the dark, just talking to dead people, you know, them telling me don't go over here. And I'm like, okay, you got me. All right. And, you know, I remember one time a cop passed me and says, you know, it's kind of dangerous. And I said, I'm not alone. And he looked at me like, oh, okay.
Okay. See you later, lady.
You're one of them. Okay.
And they meet a lot of them down in that.
I got little people walking around with me. I'm good, dude. But yeah, so I will agree with you. I would, you know, because there's this whole thing where you think there are places that are haunted, you know, and I'm sure a lot of paranormal investigators after Katrina, because the death toll, you know, people were going to certain places. And, you know, New Orleans can be a spiritual place. There's so many different religions and spiritualities there that they talk to you if they want to, but you're not going to desecrate, disrespect them after Katrina. So I did find that in a certain area, especially in that area of the French Quarter, I could just walk around and I'd hear baby. Well, it's not spoken like that, but baby, baby. And that's how they get me. I'd be like, huh?
What?
What? That's a ghost. Yeah. But yeah, they love me in New Orleans. I'm gonna tell you, it is a crazy thing, and I feel like it's because I'm them too. They do tend to follow me wherever I go, but I did notice a shift of energy and spirits after, you know, post Katrina for sure.
Yeah, it was weird. It was. Well, I remember 3 days after the storm, because I got a construction company, so we came back. We were staying in Fort Walton. And we loaded up the trucks. I drove down to Panama City, bought a couple of generators, got some stuff together, got some friends together. We actually brought some people from down there to bring back with us to go to work. And it was so weird. One of my friends flew in from Canada to one of my directors, matter of fact, flew in from Canada. He wanted to come down and help us out. I'm like, sure, because we were paying good money anyway. So he gets down here. We go down. We were on not St. Charles. We were on Canal Street. And a friend of ours owned the property. We went to go check on it, and it was dead. There was nothing. It was just quiet. And it was so quiet that it creeped you out, because it was a kind of quiet where there was no crickets, no birds, no nothing. And you could feel, if you were sensitive, you weren't feeling anything. It was almost like being stuck in a deprivation tank, because there was just nothing. It was really weird. Don't want to feel it again. It creeped me out. And I notice now when you go down there, it's kind of getting back to its feel. But even the cemeteries, for a while, you could walk through and you would really not get any kind of thing. But you got up in the quarter, especially like, you know, between midnight and 4 a.m. You were in the center. Even if you were just half-ass psychic, you should feel stuff up in there. I mean, really. Well, I didn't mean to say it like that, but I mean,
yeah.
I've been down there with groups of people and experienced things that just are mind-numbing, just walking around. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, we weren't out ghost hunting. We were out drinking. Okay, just so y'all know ahead of time. And there was about 10 of us, maybe 12 of us, and we were getting drunk. Some were friends of mine from out of town, some locals. We just all got together. We were walking. It's about 3 a.m. So we're walking down Pirates Alley, which is the cathedral's right here, and they got the little alley. It's where they used to sell the slaves. Actually, used to execute the slaves. But also after slavery, after that part ended, it used to be the part where the belladonnas used to walk down in their big gowns and stuff like that. And so we're just sitting there.
I'm holding this up.
Oh, what's it?
As you were talking, I was drawing a lady
See?
that I literally saw behind you that interacted with you when you were down there. So I get distracted and I start.
No, that's fine by me. I like that kind of stuff. It's you know, it's you get these things now. And this house where I live here is a little weirder because it's a different kind of protected. Mainly, it's off the ground, and it's been bathed in salt water more times. Matter of fact, for Katrina, where I'm sitting, I would still be 8 feet underweight. Let me see if I can show you. Hold on, just to get the point across to you people. That wait, let's go up. That's my head. That's my head. Where's it at? There's the vent. There's it. So this ceiling, there's a vent. That's actually 10 feet above where I'm sitting. That's where the peak of the water for Hurricane Katrina was. So the house got grandfathered because it survived. So they said, okay, we're not going to make you raise the house, but you're going to have to raise your ceiling to match the code. Oh, man. Sorry, guys. I mean, kicking cameras around. But it's creepy weird because the longer we're here, and because we mess with a lot of weird stuff anyway, it seems like we must be carrying stuff in with us. More so than them sweeping. And, you know, like in New Orleans or the metro area, things can move around freely. Everything's connected. Here, it's a little different. I mean, there's a bayou in front of my house. There's the Gulf of Mexico on the side of my house. Bay St. Louis on the other side of my house. But there is a property going back. And all the stuff behind me was lost during the storm. It was, matter of fact, right next to me, there used to be another room in my house here. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 houses went boom, 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 boom on top of each other as the wave came through the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, I know people. I'm crazy for living here. I understand it, but I like it here. But I think it limits what I can bring here. Or so far, I should say this, knock on wood. So far, nothing bad. How's that? We'll leave it like that. So, I mean, was this something you found like when you were young? I mean, was it you were just sitting there and you'd be looking over and your mom be looking at you? Ericka, who you talking to, baby? I'm talking to, no, who you talking to, baby? Who you talking to? Yeah, we call everybody baby down here. I'm sorry, people. You know?
Yeah. So the ironic thing about me is that I come from a family of females. My grandmother was psychic. My mom was born in Chelsea, Massachusetts. They saw children ghosts and played with them in Massachusetts. There's many stories of my mom interacting with spirits. Me as a child, I don't remember seeing them as much. I remember interacting with them when I got older. But I had, my mom played with the Ouija board. She did all kind of stuff when I was young. I was definitely afraid of all of it.
Yeah,
but
burned them damn Ouija board.
I know, right? But yeah, it wasn't uncommon to be intuitive in my bloodline.
It's it's weird. And somebody said one time, it's something that you pick up. It doesn't really matter from what part of the world, for that matter, you're from. It just seems somehow or another, like when you were saying that, and you're saying mass, we already know there was a lot of witchy stuff going up in those areas. And I hate to use the word witch, and the fact that when they use witch, they meant it as a derogatory, negative way. When I use the word witch, not so much. I mean, I've got friends who practice. Well, we got friends who practice Wiccan and what I would call the light arts. I got friends who practice not so light arts. But, they're all into, I know 2 of the covens that house in New Orleans, or I know people in 2 of the covens that house in New Orleans. And it's strange to me. And when you start talking to these people, and by the way, guys, more so with the women than with the men, even though I can find men going back 1 or 2 generations, usually if I really get into a female's family, who the family is psychic, eventually you'll start finding it goes back several hundred years. It probably goes back further than that. It's just, we never know who brings it in. It could be a husband that brings it in. We just don't know, because once you get back like 500 years, the records are, it's just hard to know. But you can tell if they're coming from certain areas where this seemed to be prominent. And Ericka, I wonder why in certain parts of the world it seemed to be more prominent than in other parts. Was it freedom, or was it just the way it was. I mean, I'm confused because like New Orleans is a very, very ooby-dooby city. Salem was too, and there's one or two other cities in the United States. But if you go overseas to Europe, there's just a few cities over there that seem that have been involved in this, and all the rest seem not so much. And I never did figure out why. It just seems a weird thing. But what do you think?
Well, I think it just depends on how the involvement was, because, I would find that in some cultures, people would talk, we talk about Greek mythology and everybody's all into that. And then you'll go someplace else and they're reading tarot or they're reading tea leaves, and it's cultural. They're having dreams. And so I think every family bloodline across the world has some kind of superstition type of thing. Yet they could be very afraid of my abilities or things like me, but yet they believe in it enough to be superstitious. So, I found it really interesting when we were at the Myrtles. They decorated with all this Irish folklore, with the keys upside down and the cherubs all in the room. But then you delve into the history. Where does this come from? Where does this witchy or folklorish kind of protection of the devil and the spirits and then intuition? Where is all that coming from? I think every culture has their own spin on it. They just have made it so part of their ability in their life that it's not taboo. It's just, oh yeah, she knows things. She has dreams. They don't associate it. And I've never associated my ability with a specific kind of archaic, religion. Like, I was just always told, and this is how I believe all of us, we're born this way. Animals are intuitive. They, communicate with telepathy. And when we start to label the ability as, okay, she's a witch because she can do this, or okay, she's a this because that's where I get, and I have my team has Wiccan, ladies on it as well. But I just have always understood that I was born like this. It's not a part of a specific archaic religion. It's just Ericka's psychic. She sees shit and she hears things, and it's and I don't have to go chant moonlight naked, even though it would be fun. I mean,
that's fun. I'm all for them kind of things. It's I'm sorry, I just need a
Did that visual mess you up?
That stupid text went by. Caught him out. It's actually we've done that down in your area in Pensacola. And I can't say where, people. I don't want to get arrested. In case y'all didn't know this, there is a nude beach in Navarre Beach on the military base, though. Yes, yes. I'm not going to tell you how we found out. You'd laugh. I've actually talked about it before, but we're not going to talk about it tonight. But at some point, you had to say, okay, can I deal with this? Am I going crazy? How do I put this in perspective with the rest of my life? Because, at some point you got to make it part of your life. It's going to make you, just want to jump off a cliff somewhere. You're hearing things that you're like, what? Wait, what? So, what was it? Was it a defining moment, or you just kind of got used to it?
Well, I think I shut my mom down because, I'm in the Bible Belt, and that was the devil to me. I mean, I was in Teens for Christ, God help me. I was one of those kids who wore dresses and didn't look at TV for a while. I went through that phase. And so I got rid of all my mom's books, all of that. And so it got me really good when I was in college. I'm sitting here majoring in psychology, and I am looking at unsolved mysteries. And for some reason, I'm seeing the dead girl on television, and I can hear her talk to me. And I'm studying, psychology, thinking, oh, hell, I'm going schizophrenic. What the hell is happening? I didn't have anybody telling me to hurt myself or threatening me. This was, hey, help me, help me, lady. And I'm like, oh, my God, I'm losing it. Oh, God. And then I think that was my turning point, because my belief is that if I was crazy, it would be valid. So I spent a long time trying to make sure that the information I got was valid. And when it was valid, I was like, oh, God, I got the curse, the family curse. I'm psychic. It really isn't a curse. I love being psychic. But at that time, in college, I was like, oh, shit. What is
it could be an inconvenience in college. Yeah. And it could be an inconvenience when you're dating, too. People, there could be some big advantages to being empathic or telepathic when you're dating. But when you're younger, there could be some issues. One, you shouldn't be in other people's heads and thinking what they're thinking about you. That's just a bad thing. Bad, people, bad. And I know some of you psychics like, oh, no, it's okay if you're getting somebody else said, no, bad. I don't know if it's bad or not. There's no laws or rules against it. And we do know that the government does believe that there are psychics. The Navy and Air Force do for sure. They've got 2 different programs. And they're constantly, even today, they're constantly looking for empaths, telepaths. What they really want is a telekinesis. They just can't seem to find any. Thank God, too. That could be messy. So going now, you're a teenager going through this. When did it get worse? When you got older? When you were younger? Like in your 20s, 30s?
Well, after I got married, we moved into this house.
Blame it on the old man.
The house, I think the worst brunt of it was I had a daycare center at the time, and my husband was a commercial truck driver, so he was on the road, and we were looking for a house. I walked into this house, fell in love with it. It was next to power lines. Go figure. Why would I buy a house next to power lines? Just for the cancer aspect of it. Just walked in, fell in love with the house, had to have it, told my agent, put an offer on it. He's like, well, your husband doesn't need to see it. I said, no, I want this house. This is my house. Bought it. It was haunted. It was very haunted. We would have all these things happen. People would come over, and you could hear knocking on the walls. You could hear the door moving. You could see shadow people. People were held down in the house. I mean, it was a crazy mess. But that is where it really, really started, the major paranormal activity in my life.
I've heard other psychics, and I've heard other people, for that matter, talk about power lines can bring them. They can go down the power line. So, I wondered about that because there was a guy's house we investigated one time where there was 2 intersecting high tension lines that were crisscrossed. That place was haunted like you wouldn't believe. And from best we could tell, there was some stuff that actually happened there, but some stuff you could tell it didn't happen. You could never really find out where. Every now and then you get lucky, and they would say something that would give you, a place. But usually it was like, and they would just go into this detail. And you're like, where the hell are you? Are you in a boat, a plane? Are you in New York? Or are you in Moscow? It's just, and every now and then you'd get somebody, believe it or not, that didn't speak English. Were they an immigrant? Were they something else? It's a strange thing. And then sometimes you get, I want to use the word something because I don't know what the hell it was. No, Chris, I'm serious. I will burn a Ouija board in 5 seconds. I do not like Ouija boards. I don't know what it is. I just don't like them. I'm not hating. Yes, I am. I hate damn Ouija boards. I'm just gonna be honest about it. Well, Ericka might like them. I just personally don't like the things. I don't know what it is about them. I just don't like. You know what it is? My oldest daughter and my wife were in the hallway doing one night, and they said something. I said, I don't believe this shit. There's something real bang on my ceiling. Then something started banging the hell out of my ceiling. That was the last time that Ouija board was in my house. It went outside to the fire. It was gone. Oh yeah, it was gone. I turned it to dust. Yeah, whatever it was went to dust with it. I don't need nothing like that in my house. I got enough crazy crap running around my house. Ericka probably done sent some over here. There's probably ghosties walking around back here now.
Do you have any tarot cards in your house?
I do. I keep them in cedar boxes. Okay. I got a long time ago. I don't know if you've ever heard of the bottom of the teacup. I used to read for them. And so I got what they call a cat card deck that's 38 years old. It was used for all sorts of interesting things, and I keep them locked away because some cards are evilly bad. And then I've got a Crowley deck that was given to me. Both these decks were given to me, but I got a Crowley deck that's about 30 years old. Also was used for a lot, but I used to do a lot of reading with. So I learned something with these 2 decks because we designed our own layout for reading, very involved one. I learned something with them. The cat cards, no matter how you read them or how good a mood anybody was in, them cards were going to always give you the worst possible scenario. And the other deck seemed to do just the opposite. So I realized somewhere along the line, I don't know when, I realized, well, if I just take the 2 decks, then I actually got a closer, and it worked better. So I started telling people from the 2 decks, and they were like, it was 90%, 98% accurate. And they were like, how are you doing this? It's like, obviously I needed 2 decks to do this with. So that's why we redesigned it was a cross between an Egyptian and a Celtic. And anyway, it's like 3 different designs we used to form our own deck. So it's a little more advanced reading. It gives you a further read out. Instead of 6 months, you'll get at least a year or maybe 2. But it cheats. And what I mean by that, in the very center, there's 4 cards, which means right now. what happened. It's like what happened 2 days ago, what's happening today, what's going to happen tomorrow. If that's not right, you might as well just pick the deck up and start over. That has to be right. You need that to be right in the first card back, which is a month back. As long as those cards are right, you know you're on the right track. If they're not, pick them up. You're wasting your time, their time, and everybody else's time. And it made us to give just more accurate readings, I guess I should say. But them damn things are evil too. I'm just saying, people.
Yeah, that's my point mainly is that, people are really afraid of the Ouija board, but they don't realize it's just a divination tool, just like the crystal ball, just
Very
like
true.
the tarot cards, just like the pendulum. The only difference, I think, and I had this discussion with someone recently, is that when 5 people sit down to play with the Ouija board, it's different from 2 people sitting down with the tarot, because if I'm coming to you for the tarot, I'm wanting you to give me a message about my life. I have some understanding, I might need a relationship card or money or, the career, just things about life. There's an expectation. I might want to connect with a loved one, but there's an expectation. When you're sitting down with the Ouija board, you might have 5 people with different expectations. And so therefore, you might have one person who has a death wish and they want to interact with some evil spirit to just prove that it exists.
Yes.
You're sitting down with that person. So what you're actually going to get is probably not, you wanting to talk to your mom. It's going to be that evil spirit that wants to come in and show dude or girl over there, yeah, I exist. Let me kick your butt, and it's that. And that's when you get the fear and the scratches and all that other stuff, because everybody's expectation is not the same when you touch that pan shit. It's not the same.
That's an excellent way of saying it, because it's really true. It's not. Whoever's, and you guys and girls, they may be your friends, but you do not know what they're thinking about when they sit down and put their hand on there. And you just don't know which one of you are going to have the strongest pull anyway, until, some of y'all are going to be more psychically advanced than others. Jack, don't get me started on that. I in the old days, I believe that everybody had at least part of this ability, but after doing psychic testing, I don't believe that anymore. We've tested too many people, and that seems there's groups that seem to be gifted. Probably from family lines would be the best way to. So I know for sure we've got 3 cases that we track back 6 generations. That's 6. It's great grandmother and great granddaughter. 6 generations. They're all very psychic, and so we can track that back on how they came to be. But most people, what happened was, and this is easy. Nobody has to take my word for this. Go get a deck of cards, just a regular deck, or go get some colored cards or anything, quarters. It doesn't really matter what it is. Go make a pretty sign that you want to test for psychic abilities. First off, you will be amazed at how many people will volunteer for this. Humans are goofy because they'll volunteer for anything. Go up to your local mall, ask for permission. Don't get yourself in trouble. Sit out there. And my favorite one is just to get 2 colored cards, like a red, blue, green, and yellow, whatever it is. Doesn't really matter. And I'll just put the cards down and say, okay, tell me what this card is. Tick, tick. Now, remember, this is just 2 cards. So 50-50 should be the worst you do. Now, keep this in mind. Okay, most people don't even get it 50-50. They get it like 36-64. I don't know what it is. I think when you try too hard, you mess yourself up. But it did show me, and we've tested, I don't know, close to 25,000 people now. And the new Air Force and Navy studies did show me that it does seem to be in family lines. It doesn't seem to be. And I'm not saying that these people won't develop this 5,000, 10,000, 100,000 years from now. But the people who have it today all seem to be, how can I say this, moving along the same lines of progressions. I mean, with their abilities. So it would suggest that they were found whenever in their family lines, however far back it went back. It's hard to put it into words, but we've got enough researchers now. And we do this, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we do this regularly. We just call up a local mall, and when I'm traveling especially, or one of my favorite things to do is if I'm at a conference sometimes, I'll set up a table. Unless I have one, I'll just say, hey, look, why don't y'all come by, free testing, get your psychic ability tested and see what happens. Now, remember, these are people that are coming to these conferences already think they're probably gifted anyway, so your odds should be better on finding them, shouldn't they? So it's interesting. No, Jack, it doesn't matter if you get them wrong. It doesn't. Being telepathic, if you're empathic, you're not going to know what color the cards are. Okay, if you're telepathic, you'll know what color the cards are. No, just because you're a psychic medium doesn't mean you can tell me what color the cards are. It's not. it's you when you're using the cards, you're testing for straight out telepathic abilities, which means you can touch my mind or touch the card either way and tell me what the color of the card is. Yeah. Mediums sometimes do it differently, I notice. They have other ways of connecting. I'll let Ericka, because I don't want to get into that, but what do you think, Ericka?
So when I teach class, what I usually tell a student to, that's testing precognition.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I usually tell them is that with the Zener cards, most people don't do well with that because their recall of the square, the circles, wiggly lines, or the star are very difficult. But if you find something that you enjoy, like food would be an example for me. If I did chocolate ice cream, if I did pizza, if I did steak, or if I did something like sweet tea, and I did 5 cards of those ideas, I can use more senses. I can smell, I can taste, I can see. Those are things that are tangible that I do better with those things. And students, if they like cats, people that are cat people, they nail precognition if they make their own cat cards. They can have cats that they've had before, like a striped cat, a tabby cat, a tuxedo cat, just an all black cat. And a lot of times if they do the 25 cards with those different 5 sections, 5 individual cards of the cats, they can precognite or have precognition ability and guess what cat, because they can do more than just kind of say, okay, let me predict, let me visualize. What does that cat feel like? I've touched this cat before. I know this cat. Is it my dead cat? So the more that they get their psychic ability into the taste, smell, the touch, the hear, the knowing, they can do better on precognition. I've never liked the Zener cards, and I've done the test online too. And the reason why is because they don't resonate with me. The star shape, that doesn't resonate. When I make it something that I like, the waves could be the ocean, you know? If I do that, oh God, I'll nail it because I can think of a present, a box. A circle could be the sun. The waves could be the ocean. You've got to kind of familiarize yourself with whatever kind of precognition image. I think you'll work better with that in the future. Maybe have different decks and let them choose an animal, a dog, a cat. Cats and dogs work well. Food works well. Colors do too, if you can associate that with a feeling. Like for instance, if you had a red, an orange circle, you could say, oh, this feels like the sun. I try to teach my students when I teach classes like this to use more of your empathic and all your senses in that kind of precognition testing, because not everybody is precognitive, but you can use that ability, the rest of your senses, to ask your guides to show you what is on that card, and that would help tremendously.
Corey, what do you mean are empaths? Okay, no, empaths are definitely different than telepaths, but what do you mean is one stronger than the other? It's just different. I don't know how to, it's an empath. It can just sense all of your feelings, your emotions. They can also send too. That's what makes it dangerous for them. Okay, so real quick, if you're an empath but you don't know it, so let's say you're 20 years old, you're going through life, you walk into rooms, sometimes you get miserably, you might want to cry, or you walk into rooms sometimes and you want to get all happy and giddy, you don't understand why. Or sometimes you walk into a room and everybody in the room starts feeling the way you do, whatever the feeling is. Those are empaths. So those are actually strong empaths. But the problem with that is, if you don't know what it is, people just start thinking you're crazy. Well, she just starts crying for anyway, or he just loses it. You know, what is wrong with these people? Well, you're actually experiencing other people's emotions. And since you don't know how to stop them, you're just dealing with yours and theirs. So you have to learn. The earlier you learn what it is, the better off you're going to be. It's not that hard to figure out. Just take your time. Go see Ericka for that matter. She'll teach. Well, no, people need to be out there teaching people. I don't teach people anymore. I gave it up.
So this is a fun thing to think about too. And this happens to me often on our ghost tours. I'll walk next to somebody where, doing the ghost tour and they've got equipment in their hand, and I'll look at them and I'll say, do you have a headache right now? And they'll say, yes. And I said, okay, I feel it. Now, what I will say to them then is, I release that headache. That is not my energy. That is not my pain. But then I'll then pray for them and I say, I hope that you feel better. And then I also tell them, a lot of times if you're empathic, and this is for you to know, guys, too, that if you feel pissy for no reason, or you start feeling sick, you're carrying somebody's anger, you're at work and such is in a bad mood, and you feel that, acknowledge it, that it's not yours. Yep. Once you acknowledge that it's not yours, you take the energy from it and then you dismiss it. And that happens a lot in situations. I do this a lot when I'm in places. A lot of us empaths go to graveyards or Walmart or walk in the streets of the town, and you feel things because you might feel the impressions of that location. Wonderful thing to do. This is my little thing that I do to ground out and release.
But see, there you go, guys, because I know a lot of y'all have issues with being empaths, and we deal with a lot of them. Well, no, we don't even consider anyone. If you're not an empath, we won't even consider you for the study yet. It's one of those things. Because empaths, you know, first off, it's good to recognize it early because you can use it. You know, I use it when I'm doing deals or when I'm cutting either for the radio or for the station. I use it sometimes. Just it's a cheat, but it's a natural ability, so it's not really a cheat, is it? It's a given ability. So no, sometimes when I'm talking to a customer, I can sense that the price can be higher, or we're at where we're going to go, or that the customer may want this or that, or same thing with the radio stuff. It's just helpful, and it's helpful if you learn how to. So you seek out people like Eric and other people that can help you. But again, always check out who you're seeking out and learn how to deal with them. No, okay, real quick, Johnny. The reason I don't teach hardly anything anymore is because I don't want to be delivering people to the Air Force and to the Navy. So we're so involved in so many different things these days that odds are if we find someone who's really good, they're going to be harassed. So we just test and move on, test them. And if we do stumble across somebody who's really good, we might refer them to somebody else, you know, but not over the internet or not over the phone. It'll be an in-person referral. It's just like when we change data on the different computers, it's always an in-person. Yeah. And none of the data computers are actually online. I know, huh? A little bit paranoid there. There's a lot of people's names on that. I don't want to be the one that gets them asses. Well, you can call them whatever you want. Military abductions, you call them whatever you want, but I don't want to be the one that gets you taken because they say, well, this guy or this girl's got a scale 9 telepathic ability. We need them. Well, of course they're going to come snatch it. And then they might reprogram you so you like working for them. I'm just saying, you got to be careful here. Poor Ericka better watch it. She's down there by half the damn military in the country's down there by her. They probably got her bugged, man.
They do, and they have many times.
I don't even doubt it where you're at.
Somebody and I'll be like,
well, I mean, you're like, what are you in between this one? So you got Eglin down there, which is just freaking huge. You got where Pensacola Wings are. It's just people. There's a lot of military down. So, and then there's another base even further down in Mexico City. It's just a lot of military, starting from about Pensacola all the way down the coastline. There's a lot of it. Well, Eglin is 884 square mile base, and I know for a fact there's 36 runways on it, which we filmed I think 8 of or 10 of, and we filmed one of them with some kind of weird saucer-looking thing landing on it. Yes, we got that. That's up on the Alien Enigma site. Yeah, it's pretty good video too. Mm-hmm. Is it alien, Jack? I have no idea. I didn't see any aliens. I can't say it was alien. It could have been something the government was working on. It is, after all. Eglin, in case y'all didn't know, is where all the non-nuclear weapons are tested. Whatever they are, that's where they're tested on Eglin. Doesn't matter what it is. If it doesn't contain any kind of nuclear thing, that's where it's tested. Because it's 884 square miles of swamp. You're not going to go walking through the swamp to get it. And if you try to get back there like you rusting the Chinese, you get eaten by an alligator for sure. Or something worse. I'm just saying. So what do they care? No, they don't care. No, she's actually in a great location where she's at. Except for maybe hurricanes, it's a nice place to live, I still imagine. It's I get down there, like I said, I get down as much as I can. Pensacola's a really nice time. We go down, we caught y'all's little Christmas thing y'all do now. I shouldn't be giving free Christmas. Oh, it's only like 160 days to Christmas, people. My daughter hears me say that, she's gonna smack me in the head. No, they do Denise, they do a
Winterfest.
Yes, that's what it is. And they have carolers out there with hot chocolate. You get a little thing and ride you around, and you get to watch everybody caroling hot chocolate. And if you're into that kind of thing, it looks fun. I just ride around in my cars. They still give you the hot chocolate and all, and they got a little snow going around. I don't know. It's interesting. Pensacola is a very laid back place. Yes, it is. Very nice.
We are. We definitely are.
They are. Don't go down there and cause any trouble because they will kick your ass out of their town. You think I'm kidding you? They will kick your ass out of their town. No, they will. They're like Mobile. Mobile's the same way. Mobile's not quite as laid back as Pensacola, but they will also kick your ass out of their town. No, they don't care what color you are. They just want you to behave. Yeah, they don't care about any of that. No, they don't care about that. They just don't want you coming in causing ruckus in their city. That's all.
Yeah, basically.
That's just how they are. Well, no, there's a lot of interest. Well, they got one of those where you go eat. They got the little the trailer place where they got a couple of little trailers, the little silver trailers. I don't know. I ain't making no comments on the food. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying that's thing.
I would prefer you bring me food from where you're coming. I'm not.
Yes, I agree with you too.
Please do.
It's well, no, that's on her Facebook page. What is that? Pensacola Con? Is that what it is?
Yes, I run Pensacola Paracon.
See, there y'all go. Go down to Pensacola.
Pensacola Paracon.
That's just an excuse to go to Pensacola, people, and like y'all even need one. Well, the reason I'm saying this, okay, guys, because I know a lot of people listen to us from around the world and around the country, but I'm more or less speaking to the Gulf South right now, really from, say, Houston, Texas, all the way across to Jacksonville, well, and up to Atlanta, because that's all driving for her. For us, like for me, Pensacola's an hour and a half drive. If you're in Atlanta, it's about a 5-hour drive. In Houston, it's about a 7-hour drive. But all these are big cities that are very close within driving distance. Well, you can fly. Yeah, there's definitely an airport in Pensacola, you moron. Oh, and if not, and you know what? If you can't get one there, there's one in Mobile, which is only 45 minutes away. Yeah, Mobile's right down the street. They even share the same music. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, they play a lot. Yeah, Jack, they play a lot of Stevie Nicks in Pensacola. I don't know why, but they do. Wait, let me correct myself. They play a lot of Fleetwood Mac. There you go.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Stephanie wants to know what. Oh, okay. I read it backwards. Don't hate on the messenger. Stephanie wants to know. Stephanie, where are you from before I ask any questions? Millington, Tennessee. I've been to Millington. Yes, I trained not too far from here when I was in the Navy. I know, landlocked. I know. So she wanted to know, do you have like an experience that you would just consider like an uplifting, something that you'd want to share, nothing that, well, no, we just asked her that, Goofus. So I just want to know if you have something that's just really uplifting, like an angel or something walked through you. Is that what you're talking about? Okay, if you believe in angels.
Well, I do have something that I would love to share. I am a kidney transplant recipient. So at some point, my kidneys failed, and I have a deceased male's kidney inside of me. But one of the beautiful experiences as a medium, I've interacted with a lot of people that have died. One gentleman who was very young, Levi, he, and I have permission to share this because clients, readings are confidential, but he presented to me in front of his family, and he said to me to tell his mom who was in front of me that he was like love and faith, but he was invisible yet present. And Levi and Lee, another gentleman, has, helped me so many times with children, with depression, in clients when I see depression or suicidal ideations, will bring me rainbows all over. But I have had so many experiences with, angels, loved ones, ancestry guides, to help me help others. But I always like to empower people, start paying attention to your signs, because we walk around with the signs all over, everywhere, every day. We just are always waiting for the ghost apparition in front of our face. Hey, I see you. It doesn't happen. So you have to look for all the subtle things. And as long as you acknowledge it, say thank you, say, hey, grandpa, or hey, mom, or hey, this, or hey, dog, or hey, cat, hey, snake. I see you, I feel you, you'll get more signs. So there are so many, but that's one. I always kind of love to remember Levi and just the messages of love and oh, look at that baby.
She said she comes by. She says she's identified as a Rottweiler, by the way.
Okay.
Just in case you ought to know, people. she had to stop by. She's like, anytime. I don't know how she knows the mid-show, but she knows the mid-show every day. Every show she knows it's mid-show. It's weird. Just experiences like that. It's strange when you say that, because we have a host on the network who her daughter just had a kidney transplant from her father, which was strange. And it's only like 2 months, I think 2 months old, 3 months old. She's one of the hosts that follows us tonight. And it was just watching them go through it. It takes a lot of heart for y'all to do this. I know it takes more than just, I guess what I'm trying to say is I know there's a lot of sheer will going on in there.
There is.
You know, I would imagine for you there had to be, because first off, feeling anything, you know, or sensing anything from a part like that is, I don't even know how I'd cope with that. I might freak out, try to dig the damn thing out or something. I you know, that takes an extra special. I'm serious. She's laughing. I'm serious. I'd be like, come out. You're coming out. I'm just going to fall over right here and die.
So I'm going to tell you something funny. I've never been a wallflower kind of girl. You know, you say New Orleans people, you know, they're kind of strong. They're kind of tough. You 100%. I am that girl. And when I got that male kidney, I just noticed that I totally changed a lot. I became more masculine in some ways. I mean, I don't take no shit anyway, but I ate beans like for 3 months straight. A lot of, I'm sure this guy's personality I have now. It is definitely a transference. Psychic intuition definitely transfers in the DNA and the organ connection with psychic ability, because I can sense him. I can hear him talk to me. It's the craziest thing.
But I've heard that before. So I've actually heard that from non-psychics too, which I find interesting, which means the person who donated was probably a psychic. But it's you know, so the first time I heard somebody say that, this is going back way back, many moons, as they said in the old days, people. I remember the first time I heard a lady was talking about this. She had I think it was I forgot what the transplant was. It was a heart transplant actually. And she got to talking about how her diet had changed, and she started liking, she said all of a sudden, which her husband was amazed, she started not only liking football, but knew who the people were playing. So I still remember she's going, you know, my husband looked over at me and said, baby, when have you been? Because he was stunned, because, you know, he didn't even know half the players she knew at this point. And he's like, I don't, and they asked him on TV, said, I have no idea, people. I said, when a football game would go and she would just disappear. I know where she went. She would just disappear. Now all of a sudden she's sitting next to me, baby, you got a beer? We're going.
Exactly.
You know, he's confused, and he don't want to think there might be some, you know,
possession.
I definitely want to think it's possessed by a man. That's even worse. Which, you know, when I heard those, I was like, it was fascinating, but I didn't ever, you know, was it true? Was it not true? But over the years, and a lot of the cases we studied, this played out in a lot of people, and a lot of people just sense it. And I imagine you can close yourself off, or if it really scares you. But I think it's something you should probably let come through, unless the person was insane. All right, let's just get Jack the Ripper or somebody. Let's not so much. Okay.
It aids the ability, most definitely. I do, like I have said to you, hey, Dick man, help me. I'm a mess. And he does. So I mean, if he is a serial killer or whatever, it's fine.
As long as it works, he's not killing you. It's all that matters. What do you mean, Maria? What are you talking about? Psychic what? What do you mean? All right, I'm gonna let Ericka explain to you what a psychic medium, because I know if you've been watching this show for more than, let's say, a day, you should know what that is. Ericka, Maria, first tell me what you know the rule. If you're going to get on the air, you got to tell me where you're from.
Okay.
Yucca, California. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. So a psychic is like everybody is born psychic with these senses, and then the sixth sense, empathic ability. You could be looking at that, to the knowing of more than just what your five senses tell you. A psychic medium is wired a little different, and sometimes I say, not everybody's a psychic medium consistently. Yes, you can have dreams of your dead person. You can feel your grandma talk to you or appear to you, but it's not a consistent, you know, like turn on type of thing every time. For me, whatever reasons, because of the way that I was born, my bloodline, I have been able to talk and see dead people since I was very young. I am also able to go out of body, however this happens, and go into a location and tell people what I see as a remote viewer. I've done that all my life. I've been out of body many times. I do it at will. So that's basically a psychic. A psychic does life readings. A medium talks to dead people, basically.
Yeah. Y'all got that? Can you be, Lori said, can you be both?
All psychics are psychic. All mediums are psychic. the consistency would be the thing. Like everybody can play baseball because you pick up a bat and you try to hit, but there are some people that are going to be able to hit that ball, hit that ball, hit that ball. So as a medium, I'm able to talk to that dead person, talk to that dead person. You might be able to talk to a dead person, but I'm going to talk.
Not me. I'm going dead person. Why ain't you on the ground where I'll be looking for garlic or something. It's holy water. I'll be looking for something, people. I'm just being honest about it. No dead people talking to me. It's bad enough, See, I guess that's not good. I've always known. I usually get a 2-year warning when somebody around me is going to die. So far, it's been 100% accurate, more than 15 people. So I got to a point somewhere in my 30s, or actually 40s, where I started trying to figure out how to block it because I just didn't want to know. I'd just rather not know. Some things I didn't want to know, people. So I don't want to talk to no dead people. Okay, y'all send them to Ericka. She don't mind talking to them. That's what I'm saying. Send them to Pensacola. Yeah, and Pensacola, beautiful dead people. Look, it's pretty down there, blue and green water splashing around. If you're females, there's lots of husky built guys down there from the military. There you go. What else can you ask for? Even got a decent economy there. Mm-hmm. And they got a Buc-ee's right up the road. Come on, what else can y'all ask for? Marty, what do you mean? If she does readings, you should come to Pensacola Con and find out. That's what I'm saying.
You can go to thecoldcasepsychic.com or psychicdiva.net. Psychicdiva.com too. And you can check out the website and what I do and a little bit more about Second Sight Paranormal, our bootleg TV show that we film. We're having fun.
Yes, TV's always fun. Yes, Mark, I know all about it. Yes, I know there is right there. I know there is. There's a bottle of Crown Royal right there. It's funny about that bottle of Crown Royal. That freaking bottle's 4 years old. I bought it in Los Angeles 4 years. The very first time I went to the Writers' Futures Awards as press. And it's been there ever since. It's like a momentum. I know what y'all really want to talk about is all in books back there, but you see, I got them where y'all can't see them anymore. So all the Greek and Roman classic works are back there, right? Really beautiful set of books. Well, when I first put us on Roku, you could see the titles and who it was, and that's all they wanted to talk about. I'm like, no. So now you can't see it no more. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a guest on the set, as you can see, this was last week's guest. Lazarus' book will stay up there for quite some time. We leave them up there so people can see the different books, friends of the shows and stuff like that. That way, if you want to buy one or something, you can. Yes. Pensacola Con. I'm bringing my ass down there. When is it?
It's September the 23rd and 24th. We'd love to have you come and be a guest.
Well, let me know. I'd love coming down there. I'd have a blast. I love talking and I love Pensacola. That's two freaking things. And no. I'm not going to whoever's house that was. We're not going there. I don't want to see no aliens walking around fences because I want to leave Martha at home for a change. Martha's my 9mm. That's in case you think it's a woman or it's a gun. But no, Martha needs to be on vacation for it. Look, she's been working hard in New Orleans lately. It's with all this heat, people are crazy down there. That city, the town's crazy. Real quick, because I want to get back to Ericka. If you act like a local, no one's going to mess with you, okay? Don't come down there in long sleeve shirts and jeans and shit because they're going to know you're not a local, okay? And if you got a long sleeve shirt on, roll that damn thing up like you mean business. Get the tie off, get the shirt down, get the sleeves up. Because any local knows right now in July, it's 100 degrees and it's 100% humidity. So they know it. And when they see you out there sweating your brain, first giveaway to a tourist is they're sweating. Locals by this time in the summer have quit sweating because we've got used to the weather again. Unless they're pampered, yes. If they're pampered locals, like if they only go outside every once a month, that's different. But for the normal people who go out to the city, they've gotten used to it by now. And so they're not going to be sweating. Tourists from up north, y'all going to sweat like somebody's dumping buckets of water on your head. Yes, and then you can talk to the ghost while you're there.
Yeah.
I don't. So. Rahajin. Okay, sorry. Hey, don't shoot the Rahajin. I got it. So what's your question, Rahajin? Where are you from? Like India somewhere? Pakistan? No, you're from New York. Well, hello, Rahajin. Don't give me no shit. I know your last name. I'm from New York. So what you got for us? Oh, okay, I'll ask. So he wants to know, have you ever experienced something wanting to take you over and not wanting to let go? I gotta see
My
this.
husband.
That's a cheat. That's a cheat. That's
Um,
a good one. That's a good one. I don't know that in the future.
So
to meet this
what I
guy.
will say on that is we have had experiences as a team. Again, your team and who you're investigating with, their mental health, okay, what they're seeking, whatever communication or validation they're needing from the spirit world is very important. Because if you're investigating with people that have a desire to connect with the devil, or the evil, or they're so in a depressed mood that energy is attracted to them. If you're love and light and Stevie Nicks and stuff, it still surrounds you. You still have to interact with it, no matter how prayed up, protected, etc. You're still going to walk in that energy. So what I will say is, yes, we did have a episode called Cursed Cliffs that we did film in Pensacola at the Bluffs, where several people have died, committed suicide. There's been all kind of not good religious stuff happening in those woods at night. Suicide by train just recently, 3 or 4 months ago, numerous plane crash. I mean, this is like the Bermuda Triangle in Pensacola. And we went out there and we encountered a very negative spirit that followed us all home, flooded a girl's house the same night. I mean, it is a made-for television show. So we did it.
But there's just a lot of stuff that, it's hard to explain to people when you go to Pensacola. So when you get off the interstate and you come down the other interstate till you get to Pensacola, it's interesting because Pensacola kind of goes back towards the west as it's headed back towards Perdido Key and places like that. And then it kind of goes back up the other way towards Interstate 10. And then it stops right there. What is that? Santa Rosa, Gulf Breeze.
Gulf Breeze.
Gulf Breeze. So, yeah, because that's Pensacola on the other side too. So,
yeah.
Well, that's a place you got to pay a toll, people. But anyway, you're on Pensacola Island in Gulf Breeze, which is beautiful. I want to tell you, don't go in the summertime. It's beautiful in summer. Don't go in the summertime.
Yeah.
Okay. One, there are so many people. You're gonna be like, no, especially since COVID. Last time we drove through there, it was packed.
Yes.
But you can get some great deals in the fall and the winter and the spring, and it's beautiful down there year round. One of the nice things about living down there, being around there, is it doesn't really get that cold in the winter time. So you can come down. A lot of times you'll come down in winter, it'll be in the high 60s, even 70s sometimes. So come on down and enjoy yourself when everybody else does. But right now, unless you like the heat and you just want to go out on the beach and bake, I would. Oh no, September's a great time of year to be down there, especially towards the end. So for us, I look at it differently. What do you mean August starts fall? Not for us, it don't. September don't. Technically, September don't even. Really, it's more like October. Well, we might get a cool breeze in September sometimes. Usually we'll get in the 80s. How's that? Mm-hmm. And some days we'll still break the 90s. But when we're going to have a bad hurricane year is when we're running into the end of August and we're still running in the high 90s. It might be bad. For anybody in the Gulf South, it doesn't matter who it is. We're all targets at that point.
Yeah.
So Pensacola Con, come on down. It's on the weekend. You can come hang out. It's a good time of year to be there. Lots of friendly people. They got pretty good food, Pensacola.
Yeah.
Because a lot of New Orleans people move down there. That's why.
That is exactly why. We have a lot of New Orleans influence too, especially at Seville, where we do our ghost investigation. It basically, Bob Snow went to New Orleans and basically said, I like that, bring it here to Pensacola.
Well, y'all should do Dinner with a Ghost. Who was that was doing Dinner with a Ghost? I forgot who it was now. He was going around the country doing Dinner with a Ghost because he had asked me if I'd hook him up with somebody in New Orleans, but I was too busy at the time. But that's what they were doing. They were doing Dinner with a Ghost. So it was like they would invite 12 or 14 people would come. I forgot what they would charge. I think it was like $100 a person. They'd go somewhere really, really, really haunted. They would set up everything, and then I guess the head of the table was for the ghost. And actually, I didn't get to go. I was too busy. I would have liked to have seen one. Look, good dinners, They were talking about doing them at the Quarter Two Sisters and all downtown. They got really good food. I went for that. But you can do it anywhere. You can do their own dinners yourself. I don't know if it's a good idea or not. I don't know how feasible it is in the Deep South because there seems to be ghosties everywhere down here.
Yeah, we do basically a ghost investigation that includes a meal. So you can either have a lunch or dinner. but we do those here in Pensacola at Rosie O'Grady's Seville Square area. And then we do the Victorian Inn, we do Fort Morgan. So our team does a lot of invite, paid, unfortunately, ghost investigations with the public. And they are active, very active.
So wait, when you come through the, when you come over the bridge into Pensacola, the second bridge where the toll is, and you take a right, is that Fort Morgan down there? What fort is down to the right? Because that some bitch is haunted beyond belief. We even
that's going to be Fort Pickens. Fort Pickens and Fort Parancus is in Pensacola. Fort Morgan is going to be in Alabama, but
that's right. I actually remember that.
We can't do Fort Pickens. They don't. I mean, you can go there, guys, go there, but if they see you pull out some paranormal equipment, they're going to kick you off, because there's certain areas in Florida and Georgia and Alabama that historically they want it historic. They don't want the dead and the paranormal and any of connotation of that. It is strictly a historic site. That's all they want to talk about is the history.
I didn't know about that until just recently. We want to do an investigation. It's a fort. It's in Alabama. They got a couple of little camps on it. It's a Civil War battle line is what it was. It's right up against one of the rivers. And it was a great place. Place is definitely haunted. We've seen all kind of crap just driving through there. So I asked the guy, I said, do you mind if we rent out all four of them and come do some work later night? He said, once the gates are closed, you can do whatever you want. Just don't tell us and don't cause any ruckus. And I was like, because, man, they had the hanging tree where they were hanging all these people after. And what's weird about this hanging tree people is first they were hanging the Yankees, and then the Yankees took the spot, and then they were hanging the Confederates all in that same damn tree. That jail across it's a very, very haunted place. And we've been trying to set up one there for a while. It's right there, right above. It's in damn, I can't remember the name of it now. It's not. It's right when you come you come across the Mobile Bay and you take a left.
I want to say Blakely, Fort Blakely.
That's it. Hey, y'all, what did y'all find out there?
Oh God, it was great. we did an episode on that. That is, I want to say, our Echoes of War, where we do Fort Blakely. I'm trying to think. We do the lighthouse and that, and I want to say Fort Morgan. They're all combined. I had a lot of interaction where the Union soldiers were, and I could see my people, tan folks. Fighting. They were talking about how they were fighting and they were running, and they didn't want to be there, but they had to do it. And they were really fighting for their lives. They weren't necessarily loyal to either side. It was just, I'm here, let me do what I got to do to survive. And it was like walking, some of it is residual there. It's not interactive haunting or active. It's definitely residual energy. But I mean, I'm walking, looking at body parts on the ground, and I'm like, oh my God, it was, I mean, Gettysburg will always be my favorite battlefield. Yeah, but it was definitely, Blakely is worth the investigation. Definitely.
We'll have to hook you up with our Pittsburgh team. We're thinking about doing a pay-per-view out of Gettysburg. Actually, we're thinking of, since we have the Roku channel now, I told the guy who runs the TV part of it, I said, look, you either have his pay-per-view by mid-August or we're going to go with a different company, because we get a lot of places that we have the option to do pay-per-view. And when we do pay-per-view, I explain this to people all the time, but it's not so much that we're planning on getting rich. It would be nice to make a little money, but it costs, people don't realize it costs a lot of money to set these up. It's not like it's free. You got to pay to get there. You got to pay to stay there. You got all your equipment you're tagging along with you, whoever else is coming along. And if we're doing pay for listen, we've got all of that connected as well. And we have the cameras out there walking around. And the way we have it set up now is because of StreamYard, we can have 10 cameras going at one time. And 10, they could be anywhere. They could even be in different graveyards if they wanted to be running the same thing. So it's different for us now. It gives us a lot more options. You can have a psychic here, a medium here. You could have 4 mediums at Gettysburg, all of them in different locations, talking whenever, and they could be talking to each other, talking to the people listening, talking to the audience. It's a different way of doing things, and I can't wait to do it. I mean, it's killing me. I just want to get them going. And there's New Orleans, there's Mobile, there's Florida, there's Savannah. There's just so many places around here. You can use Gettysburg as the kickoff, but there's so many places to go. And when you run out the south, there's always the north. There ain't nothing out west, though, people. I'm sorry. West is just not haunted. Even the ghosts leave California. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Even the ghosts leave Cali. They're like, it's bad enough the people, even the ghosts are going with them. No, I mean, you just don't hear about, it's not that there's not anything haunted out there. There's not much for some reason. Ghosts out there, just, I guess they don't like to stay around. I guess they're hoping to come back and be Hollywood again. I don't know. I was at the Roosevelt. No, you're talking about the Roosevelt? Yeah, no, we stayed there for 2 years. I had a great time there. It's a great hotel. It's an old hotel. It's a great hotel. It's on Hollywood Boulevard. Yeah, right there with the walk and all of it. Yeah. Really nice people. Great. It's a great place to do what I was doing. Because I'm doing press. I'm there to interview all the winners. Yes. That's what I'm there for. That's exactly what I'm there for. But the talking to the head maitre d' and the assistant manager said the place was haunted like you wouldn't believe. So he told me about one hallway. So I decided to go over there one day. I was catching up on some interviews, just editing. And all of a sudden I heard boom. I'm like, what the hell was that? The damn cart's just rolling on down the thing by itself. So I'm waiting to see whoever had the cart. I'm waiting to see some girl, some maid, or some guy come running behind the cart. Nope. Cart just kept rolling until I got to the end of the thing and then stopped just before the stairs. I'm thinking, don't go down the stairs because you're going to think I did this stuff. No, I have no idea what it was, Lavender. What you got? What you asking, Lavender? You mean online reading? She just told you where to go. Lavender wants to know where she can get an online reading from you. She loves you already.
Thank you. You can go to psychicdiva.com or coldcasepsychic.com. And the reason why I'm a coldcasepsychic.com is because when I was in college and I was looking at unsolved mysteries, I started obsessing about trying to find bodies and working with law enforcement. And then I went from that to findme2.com, which was Kelly. And he was doing the FBI thing and he was working with psychics, and I joined them for a little bit. And I started my own cold case forum. And then I started being a daycare owner by day after I graduated, and went to work in psychology and opened up childcare facilities. I was solving or looking into crimes, not solving everything, but looking into different crimes and missing people at night, and being a daycare owner in the daytime. So I did that for many, many years. And that's why I'm still a cold case psychic and will always have that website. But I've tried to rebrand myself because unfortunately working in that energy is very depressing. And, you know, even this girl, unfortunately, that was just missing recently, I was asked about it and I remote viewed the location in my head from Pensacola. And I said, I hate to say this, I said, there's no abduction. And I kind of felt that whole thing. And I was very upset about it because she looks like me and it's not a good thing that she did. And I'm going to pray for her. But that's a sign.
Sorry, guys. I didn't know it was on. It should be off. It's always on.
But yeah, you know, I do both. I am currently, my team is set up, Second Sight Paranormal set up. She finds them, they investigate. So we do haunted houses, we do crime scenes, we do murder investigation. I mean, we do it all. You know, the whole case for us is like the whole team is mostly based on criminal justice majors. And so we want to go into doing more crime scenes, cold cases, missing people. That's the goal.
They, you know, it's interesting because one of our hosts, Amelia Pisano, does missing children. She's pretty good too, and but usually she's co-hosting with the station manager, Michelle DeRoche, who's a good friend of mine. She's an actual boss lady. I get. Somebody asked me the other day, can she fire me? I said, oh yeah, she can fire you. Can she? She said, what happened if I call you? I said, no matter. She said, once you fired, you're fired. Ain't nothing I can do about it. And a bunch of the older hosts got upset, and they're like, well, we're friends with you. I said, now you see why we have a manager now, because you can't be friends with the boss all the time. So no, she does a good job. She brings on a lot of new hosts. We're always looking for talent too. We got free shows, we got paid shows. It's just weird the way the network works these days. And of course, we offer the TV now, so people can watch us in real time on television. Which, yeah, Danny, we are sometime later this year as the profits get a little better. You'll be able to get us on Prime too. Prime and Apple, yeah, you'll be able to watch us on Prime television just like you watch us on Roku. Well, Roku's different. You have to remember, Prime is a network. Roku is this huge conglomerate that puts all the networks on it. Remember, Netflix is there, Hulu's there. All of them are on Roku. That's why we're there. Prime is a little bit different. Prime is Prime, and they have a few channels on it, and they have a lot of movies on it, TV and stuff. They just offered us a slot there, and they offered this company a slot so we can go there and on Apple and Samsung. Eventually, we'll get there. We're one thing at a time. One thing at a time, people. Let's get Roku under control. Yes, we're getting people. Let me tell you what about this damn Roku. So right now, some crazy people are watching myself and Ericka. They're up there with the Zoom going. They looking all behind her. They're looking at her saw. They look at her. They look at everything behind me. They're just going to town. People, don't y'all have something better to do besides that? I'm just saying. Well, you know, what I'll do is we'll invite her back in a couple of weeks, and if she wants to do some readings or something, we'll ask her. But I never do that on a guest first show because I like to get to know who they are. They need to know how crazy the host is. Not the audience. At least, first time in history, no one asked if you were married. That's because you said early on you were. It's the weirdest thing people will ask. Oh, right. That's like a friend of mine, John Goodwin. He's president of Galaxy Press. He comes on. Now, they all know he's married because he's been on the network 100 times. Is he married? I said, yeah, that's his wife sitting next to him. I said, you see the brunette sitting next to him? That's his wife. Yes. Emily, that's her wife, his wife. Oh, it's too funny sometimes. It's, okay. No. Savannah, we'll ask that question. So Savannah wants to know, Savannah, are you really from Savannah, Georgia, and your name is Savannah? Your mom was high when she named you, wasn't she? She was high, wasn't she? Don't lie. She was high when she named you. Okay, Savannah from Savannah, Georgia. She said if you could do a reading on anybody in the world, good or bad, who would it be?
Oh, that's a good one.
There are a lot of crazies out there. I know it's a tough one. When she asked it,
that's a great question.
I don't know how I would answer that. I'd be like,
that's a great question.
Do like a dozen or something?
Probably. I would want to maybe or do a reading on someone like, oh God, I watch too many crime shows and I watch too many serial killers, and it's terrible. I know I shouldn't even say this, but oh God, I'm going to say it. So I have this bad habit. So we have this, where I live in Beulah, we have this serial killer. I'm not going to say his name, but I was leaving Georgia, and he left Pensacola and drove to Georgia. And I was like, I had to really stop myself from going to the hotel. Because I wanted to see if I could connect with his victims. But then I knew that I would connect with him too, because he's dead by suicide. And so I think for me, I would prefer to connect with some of the serial killers that are on death row to see if I could possibly get information for some of their victims that are not known. Because there are a lot of serial killers that know every detail of the person that they've hurt, every detail. They're not going to tell everything because, unfortunately, they've got to use some of that to get off the sparky. But, I would love to kind of not read the mind of, because that's not what I do, but like to see if I could connect with the loved ones that they might have hurt. And parts of me also question, and this is the psychology background of me, because I've seen evil before. And I do believe in possession, and I do believe that the devil or this evil entity or whatever you want to call it is real. And sometimes I wonder, because I've seen it. I've seen people that have been traumatized so much or have substance so much. Sometimes I wonder, when they do the things that they do, are they assisted by other entities? I think so. Or other dead people that have done the same thing. So, hey, do this, and this is how you do it. And this is how you don't get caught, or this is, so I do think that there are whisperers that are good or bad in this world. And I think I hate to say it, I wouldn't want to read a victim. I would want to read the killers, because I would want to see, what their victims could tell me.
Yeah, well, I can understand that, because you get to see the motive, but you also get to see the action of the people as well. So it would be, I could see where it could be hard too, but it's what is that, Ronnie? Yes. Well, it could be hard if you were reading them and you could see the victims' expressions and faces, and when they were dying. But not everybody dies the same, guys. Yeah, some people will, even when it's horrific, some people still have more composure than others. Don't ask me why. I have no idea.
I was recently, and I can't talk about it too much because of a non-compete conversation type of thing, but I was recently taken someplace to be at a crime scene, and I could see what happened through the victim's eyes, blow by blow. It was kind of traumatic in some ways. But I think more people like me that can have this ability, if their intent was to solve crimes. I always tell people it's not about solving the crime to find the killer, because that's not always what we do. Sometimes it's giving that family, that loved one that's still living, that doesn't have any answers. It's giving them some sense of hope, or some closure in some way. I'm more about the family having some sense of hope or closure than I give a crap about the perpetrator. Even hope, some sense of hope would just be, I think, the world for a family member not having any idea.
I agree with that, because it's nothing worse than not knowing what happened. It's and a lot of people, unfortunately, will experience that. Well, no, Ricky, because you don't always know what happens. Sometimes someone goes missing, and even if they catch someone who they thought might have killed them, they still don't always tell you where they're at or what happened. And then there's always in the back of your head, maybe they escaped. There's always, it would be more like false hope, dude. Well, look, in all fairness, we've done cases where people have gone missing, and we found these people, on the other side of the country, living with somebody, usually somebody that they shouldn't be living with. There's nothing you can do about that. It's not our job. All we can do, if they're underage, all we can do is contact the parents and say, hey, this is where we've seen them at. If they're legal, whichever legal age means it's different in different states, there's nothing we can do. We'd be in trouble. Yeah. So if you're 17 and you hop in a car, whether you're a guy or girl, and you take off to California, there's not, and we find you there because, somebody said aliens took you or something, and we find you out living with this person, there's nothing we can do about it. And legally, we can't even tell our parents. I don't know. It's just one of them things. But you may not actually be an adult, but as far as the courts are concerned, you're old enough to decide where you want to live. So at that point, usually by the time you find someone anyway, they're 18, 19, 20. There's not nothing you can do about it. And even if you see the person in pain and something going on, all you can do is maybe, call a local PD or something like that and say, hey. But if the person themselves not calling, the odds are if the PD shows up, they're not going to say anything anyway. So, yeah, you can tell I've done this a few times. And my company, actually, we specialize in Section 8 properties in New Orleans. So we've seen our share of this here and there and other places. So not something you want to watch, not something you want to deal with. But you mean me? Oh, I've worked in haunted places. We're not going to get into that. We'll do a show on that one day. Yeah, dude, I'm from New Orleans, and I work in old homes in New Orleans. Of course, I worked in haunted places. Actually, I was thinking about bringing Ericka to this place on St. Charles. Oh my God, this place is haunted. It's stupid haunted though. Oh no, it does stuff like throws things downstairs, knocks things over, makes weird sounds. Doesn't do any harm to anybody. It's more like it's trying to be funny. Oh, there's something in my house. Yeah.
Okay, so that, because like when you see it, when you say it, I see it. Okay, and then I draw it. I'm weird. Does it have red? So I'm drawing it, but I don't know what all I've drawn. So does it have any kind of like brick on the outer? Like I know you said.
Oh yeah, the place does. Yeah. So what you got on? So in this particular, when you walk in, so you got a brick exterior. And then you've got when you come in, I guess it would be the left wall is brick going up the stairs.
So I keep seeing a hole of some sort. Like there's brick on the outer, brick here, some kind of white like plaster.
Oh, it's more than likely either one of those damn ass big windows or a door. So on the old houses, you get these. They're about yay wide, and they have white trim that goes up around them and stops. And then if you're looking from the street and the curtains are closed, it looks like a hole. If the curtains are open, it looks like a window. Because a lot of times they have what you call them blackout curtains. So all you see is like black, and that's it. So it just looks like it's a hole of some kind. But if the curtains are open, you can actually see the panes in them, which is strange because I've seen that a couple times, which weirded me out.
Is there anything on the floor? I think I'm more on the floor. Is there like a hole on the floor or a circle or anything?
Well, when we were there was because we were now there's nothing there because everything's been remodeled in the place.
Okay.
So, but when we were there, you walked in, and I don't know what it used to be. It was like some kind of the banister came down for the stairs, and there was some kind of thing. I guess it was like a bar where it caved in and went through the floor.
Okay, that's what I mean.
And so they and the funniest part about that is the guy pulled it out of there and found it, drug it out, cleaned it out. Well, in one little cavity in there were these mason jars full of $1 silver dollars from the cement in New Orleans, uncirculated, never touched. Of course, people, the cement in New Orleans is closed. These things are worth a small fortune. The guy ended up like, I think it was $7 million worth of coins.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, it was weird because technically the judge said the contractor found them. It should have went to the contractor, but when it went, I think it went to the federal court. They said, no, the guy who owns the home owns the coins.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah.
But the guy in the end, I think, gave him like $1 million off the deal. And so it was a weird thing, but I was just there. We were a sub on the job, and it was a weird. The whole place was weird because, like I said, you'd be standing there. So you walk in, and we had planks going over the hole, and sometimes you'd hear noise down there, but it is New Orleans, so it's no telling what it is. And all the houses are raised down there, and then, but you would hear like things just come plunking down. Sometimes you'd hear something like going down the stairs. Like last time we were there, it sounded like a one of them slinko things going down the stairs, but you couldn't see anything. There was nothing there. But the weird part was when it hit it changed its tune because at the bottom was granite, and everything was wood, so it was going clink, 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 clink. And when it hit the granite, it changed its sound. And then it went another 3 steps and fell in a damn hole. Okay. And then I guess it fell in a hole. I don't know because I couldn't see it. I'm assuming it fell in the hole. And then you'd hear like windows. And this is another thing. When you hear a window open and close in one of these old houses, it's amazing because usually for us to get a window open in a house, we've got to sit there literally for hours, just going down every little crack to get it unstuck for the 100 years of painting that's been going on. And then we finally get them open. These were just like, sound like they were blowing in the breeze. You're like, what the hell? So it was almost like it was taking you back in time. Well, let me rephrase it. It was almost like it was taking you back in time or forward in time, either way. But at the moment, those windows couldn't open. But yet you could hear them. I remember the owner came on day. He said, "Oh, you got some of my windows hooked. I can hear them plopping around." I said, "No, we didn't." I said, "That's your friendly neighborhood Casper." And he started laughing. I said, "No, you think I'm kidding?" I asked the boys over there. I said, "Been going on for like a week." He's like, "What?" And I said, "Yeah." And your neighbor came over and said, "Oh, you hear that all the time over here." I'm like, "Really?" But I didn't sense anything evil or bad. A couple of times we heard a dog barking from underneath the house, but didn't see any dogs. But that doesn't mean anything. It's a big house. It was just a strange place. And there was something about, because we had sandblasted to get all the paint off the brick to bring it back to its original, 1850s look. And when you touched it, you definitely got a sense of something. I don't know how you would put it into words. You could probably put it into words. It's not something. You would just get this overall sense. It was very powerful that there was something living there, and seemed to be happy that the house was being renovated.
Yes.
And
so I was like so drawn to the brick and the structure, the outside structure of the house, and the brick on the outside. And I was so drawn to this little boy that I could just see on not even carpeted stairs. They were just like I saw them as just like wood, just sitting there on the wood. And he's sitting there like this, just looking around, and he has like a little bow tie. I mean, he's probably from a certain era because he has a little bow tie on, and he's just sitting there and he's just looking around, and
waiting to go to church.
Yeah, and then I can see another, like a man way over there, and I see a hole. Like like if I was in there, I'd be afraid that I would fall in this hole. It's like the floor has a hole in it in my head. The guy takes me outside, the older male, and he's taking me outside. And I don't know if this is a well or some kind of, sometimes I'll see like a circle well, like, where water would be. He's telling me to come here. And sometimes I don't like to go, and he's pointing at this. So what I think is going to happen? You're probably going to discover that there's a circular thing like this where there's more stuff. not just what you found, unless the stuff that you found was in a circular area, because he's showing me to come outside. There was a like brick, I guess it's a brick fence or something. I don't know. There's brick outside.
Yeah, back in the day, they would have probably had a brick fence. Being where we were.
I'm sorry?
I said being where we were, we probably had a brick fence. It's on St.
Okay.
Charles, so they would have been, you know, now I don't know. I'd have to go do some investigation, but there used to be in some of the houses on St. Charles, they had wells inside the house.
Oh,
so you know, so if we're looking, I see we may be both looking the same way from the back of the house going into the kitchen area.
okay.
And it would still be almost the same look as the front, except the front's a little more fancy, but it's still the same same stuff. And that's possible. And because plus back there, they would have had more brick anyway, because they probably would have had the double-sided ovens and stuff. And because these were homes, you know, all these homes down there, you know, 200 years old, 180 years old.
Wow.
So there was definitely slavery in them at one time or another. And there was other stuff since then. And then, so you probably originally had indentured service, then slavery, then back to indentured service. And now finally somebody's actually getting paid to do it. But I mean, I would venture that's how it went, because, you know, after blacks were freed down here, they went to harassing the Irish and the Chinese and anybody else they could get their hands on. So, and these people had a buttload of money. I mean, well, actually, Jimmy, a buttload of money to them would have been like $100,000. That would have been like $100 million today. I'm not kidding you, man. You know, like you get a loaf of bread for like a penny. It's not the same as it is today, where you got to go pay $3 for a loaf of bread. Yeah, well, what can you do? But it's a very, you know, but the house itself, if I remember, Monica, I think it was like 1864 or 1844 is when it was actually built. And I had been there for a long time. And it was a dispensary house, which means it was somewhere along the line. It was connected to some type of plantation for bringing stuff in and out, back and forth. So they would unload up the river a little higher than this at the plantations. And then they would come down River Road and bring them to these places. And then they would be dispensed out to wherever they were going after that. Oh no, people. Yeah. I don't think it's hard unless you lived in New Orleans 100 years ago. It's hard to really understand. So think about it like this, guys and girls. You hear us bitching about how hot it is. Think about being a slave 150 years ago and not even no such thing as air conditioning. Yeah. So the closest thing you got to an air conditioner is the Mississippi River. And the slave owners ain't real happy if you go jump in the river. They think you're trying to escape. So it was
the mosquitoes and the bugs. I mean,
hell.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't. I mean, the only difference for the rich people is they could go inside and they had little mosquito nets, but they were still living in hell too. Yeah, they were still living in hell. Don't ever let them fool you, man. They were still down here at 110 degrees with swamp rats, and it's just how people stayed down here is beyond me. Why they stayed is beyond me. Now we're stuck down here. They got their whole little culture. Every house on St. Charles is haunted. Yes. And what's weird about it, so if you start out at the plantations out in St. Rose and you work your way back, all the plantations are haunted. Some have okay go, some have really nasty things, some have much more friendly, playful things. There's one in northern Mississippi. I can't remember. Oh, she's an old black lady. She used to wear a thing on her head so she could carry stuff. And this little white girl that was always with her. They got ran over by a horse and buggy.
Oh, wow.
And it was a complete accident, but people see them to this day every day walking down the road, leaving out of the plantation gates, because the plantation still exists, and walking down the road just as happy as two pigs in poop, just giggling and chatting. And they say you can hear them quite a ways down the road because they're giggling and cutting up, having a good old time. And it's just, if you walked up on it, you really wouldn't know. You'd hear must be some women out in the woods giggling or something. Yeah, well, you wouldn't know what to think about it. But everybody there knows the story. But there's lots and lots of stories like that running around. There's lots of horrible ones, people being chased down and executed. There's lots of good ones. There's lots of in-between ones. You got to remember, people, the South was hell. And during the war, it was even bigger hell. It just now started getting where it's not hell anymore. Yes. And when I mean just now, I mean the last 20 years. That's what I mean. Well, I live here. I can get away. No, you Yankees can't say that. Y'all get in trouble, but I live down here, so I can say it. It's just part of it. Anybody who lives down here been living down here knows what I'm talking about. That's so, John, that's what she was just saying when she was up at the one in Alabama. So you're going to see, blacks fought in the Civil War. on both sides, actually, which still cracks me up. But that's bad choice of words. But they did. They fought on both sides, and they fought hard on both sides. Well, because it was the same. Because both sides were offering the same thing: freedom. Yeah. So you can stay down here and be free, or you can go up here and be free. It was the same BS offer, and it wasn't what freedom is today, by the way. So it's a whole different thing. But still, it's the South has changed a lot since I've been alive. I'm glad to see it. I lived when if you lived in Metairie and you were any color but lily white, they asked you to leave. Yeah. And you wonder why people get pissed off. No, that's what I'm saying. So it doesn't really matter. Ghosties are going to come in all shapes, sizes, and colors down here. You might get some Irish, you might get some Indian, you might get some black, you might get some white, you might get some in-betweens. Oh, no, there's a lot what they call Creoles down here because it's how the South was 100 years ago. You had to live there. So they bring you a white, like the one where, but not Kevin Costner, what's his name? He played in Face Off, not John Travolta, Nicolas Cage. So Nicolas Cage had a ghost in his house. Was a woman who would walk up the stairs and make the turn. So he had a stairway that went up with a balcony stairwell that went into the rooms wherever it went. And he had a woman that used to come up there and sit up there. So one of the ladies who was a friend of his actually knew it was there. She had seen it before, asked if she could do a tour guide in his house. Well, I don't think that he actually let it, but somehow or another it got out. It's one of the reasons Nicholas got rid of the house. There were people harassing him every day to go in this house. And he said more than one occasion, he said it wasn't mean or vicious. It was very playful. And he's seen it quite a few times walking up the stairs and walking around. And then Jenna would just kind of giggle and do like a twirl and disappear. No, she was wearing, a bell dress, whatever they called them back then. Yeah, it's one of those things. That's I'm not telling you where she's buried. Oh, no, that was given to me in confidence. You can forget that shit. I will tell you this. She's not buried at Cemetery 1 or 2. As a matter of fact, she's not buried in any cemetery in the city of New Orleans. So go look at wherever you want to. Feel free. Yes. Well, if he was around, I'd introduce Ericka to him. He's a very interesting gentleman. He's a great-great-grandson of Marie Laveau. And he was introduced to me by the great-grandson of, now his name went out of my head, Aleister Crowley.
I've always said that Marie Laveau wasn't buried there. Not at all.
People forget she had a house out in the swamp, a nice house out in the swamp. People always thought it was some kind of river shack. No, she had a nice house out in the swamp. It wasn't some shithole. It was really nice. Most people don't realize how wealthy Marie was. She was quite wealthy. And people just didn't realize it. And she was definitely good at what she did. Whether it was gossip, whether it was hairdressing, whether it was voodoo, she was just good at what she did. And we'll leave it at that, man. No, I didn't want to upset Marie. The hell with that. I've heard all kinds of stories about Marie. Ericka go talk to her. I ain't talking to the woman. The hell with that shit. Grandson or not, I don't want to do none of that. I'm just being honest with y'all people because you're going to go waste a lot of money going and putting X's on graves that doesn't really matter. God knows who's buried in that poor grave. They're probably going, stop putting an X on my grave, people. No. Well, no, it's good money. Yeah, it's good. You want to go see where Marie Laveau is. But matter of fact, the old Smith shop on Bourbon was where one of her places was, one of her businesses. Yeah. She actually had more than one. I didn't know that till later on. Yes. The woman was quite a bit wealthier than we've been led to believe. Oh, yes. She was invited to all the major balls in the city. Remember, this is a black woman we're talking about in the 1800s being invited to lily white balls. That's big. You don't just get that. You got to have some pull. People just loved her. For whatever reason they loved her for, they loved her. Well, you don't believe that, Christopher. So Christopher said, what do you think, Ericka? Did she just do a spell on the whole city?
No, I think I've always said this. I think that there are people with abilities. And what aids, I think this is kind of my superpower, honestly, but not only just being psychic and badass, but people look at me and they look at my last name and they assume that I got some Marie Laveau connection. It's always been there. Yeah. And so some people are very afraid of me for whatever reasons. I have no idea. But I've always felt very connected to her. She is not in my bloodline, but I just know that I've always been connected to her. And even when you're talking about her, I'm looking around because I'm hearing noises all around my house.
I feel like I can feel it. It's very weird. She's very powerful.
I've always dreamed about her. I've always known things I should know. But I think, yes, she did have an ability. But I think the thing that worked to the best of her ability was the fear that people had of what they didn't know she could do. So it's still that fear of let me participate or be good because I don't want her to put the mojo on me. And so I think that worked to her benefit. I think she was good at what she did. You're 100% correct on that.
She was good. She was good.
But I just feel like to be feared sometimes, as those gangsters say, is probably going to be better for someone like that. You're not going to mess with her because you fear.
A lot of people were scared of her. You mean Dwanda had her grandson, her great grandson? I made him prove it. Yeah, I'm just going to take people that don't worry for that. I do radio and TV. I can't go around saying that unless I can prove it. Yes, unfortunately, I made him prove it. Yeah. I made him put on his birth record, brought it all the way back to her. Actually, believe it or not, they kept pretty good records back then. Mm-hmm. They keep pretty good records in most cities until in the United States for about 200 years, Europe for about 500 years. And then after that, it gets kind of squirrely antsy. I met Aleister Crowley's great-grandson. I was just looking at different kind of magics that I might be interested in. And my wife was really into Wiccan at the time. So I was like, I'm not really into that. I'm not that sweet. So I was just looking for something that better fit my personality. And I met him and we hit it off. And then he started teaching me what his great-grandfather. I learned a lot of interesting stuff from him. And then I studied with Gavin and Yvonne for a little while out of where they were, out somewhere in the Northeast. And it was a very, very interesting education, is all I can tell you. We'll leave it at that. They're still friends of mine even today. Yes, they are. They're much not as cute as they used to be, but still. No. They actually, one of them still lives in New Orleans, but not the one you think. The one you think that you should live in New Orleans lives in New York. Yeah, I don't know. He said he feels safer up there. His great-grandma can't get him. They're very funny about their family thing. They still have the house, the family house, and they have, it's a grave, but I would call it more like it's big, it's huge. They got all kind of stuff around it. It's like something you would see in the city itself, and there always are candles burning. And even if it's raining, someone that's staying in the house will always go outside to keep the candles lit. They're serious about their grandmother, their great-grandmother, or their great-great-grandmother. It's just, they're still a wealthy family. They still have power. They still have influence. So maybe it works for them. Who am I to disagree? I've enjoyed their company for quite some time. Where? I told you got to go to, I would just come meet the lady at Paracon at Pensacola Con is what I do. I just come meet her. Say, hi. I'm some scary, ugly guy. Can you read me? She charges
appointments too.
She charges extra for scary, ugly people. I'm just telling you ahead of time. Okay, it's double for ugly people. I'm just trying to help you ugly people out. Bring extra money is all I'm saying. No, I'm just teasing, guys. No, really, I should come down and say hi. I'm sure she'll be busy because anybody who runs these things are always freaking busy. I know several owners and people who run them, and they're always busy. Guy, your boy DragonCon, I got to spoke to him like 5 words last time. And I met Dan Farr, who does FanX and 3 others in the United States. I met him this year in LA, and he's another one. It's just like, it's hard. These things keep you busy. Actually, no. Since she's having hers this year, I'm going to go see her instead of going to FanX. Well, I'd rather support local stuff. No, I don't get me wrong. I like Dan and his crew, and I like FanX. I'd just rather support local stuff. It's the same time of the year. Yeah, that's a plus. He's in Utah. Don't get me wrong. It's beautiful in Utah, but I just, I'd rather just support somebody local. No, I come out for local paranormal groups and stuff. I'm not anti-paranormal. I'm not anti-anything, really. I believe in live and let live. Really and truly, I do. Just don't aggravate me, and you don't have to put up with my mean self. That's the best way to be. And don't start that on a teddy bear bullshit. You just don't know me. That's all. No, I was going to actually ask her that. I was getting ready earlier in the show. I said, "Your old man must be kind of big, man. All kind of demons floating around and shit." Does he go like, "Ericka, don't bring anything in the house, woman. Quit this shit."
So my husband is actually Arab. He's Moroccan. And so,
Oh, handsome little bastard, huh? Oh, excuse my language.
yes. Woo, yes. So the thing in their culture is the jinn and the genie.
Oh, I remember that, the jinn and the genie.
Yeah, so we do have a lot of spirits. And when I go to Morocco, I walk around and I'm like, oh, that place has a ghost. That place has a ghost. But it's funny because in their culture, there's also, the whole hoodoo voodoo stuff too.
Mm-hmm. There is.
Have the shops. And I shouldn't be saying this, but one of the friend of a friend's had a husband that's just like me in Moroccan faith. And so they took me there. And the guy was like, oh my God, her powers are so like Psychic Gang recognized Psychic Gang. And he was so enthralled with me. Like, I'm like, dude, I'm married.
Back up, buddy. Calm down.
He wanted me to join the tribe or something. I don't know. But when I walked,
they can have more than one wife over there, so you never know.
It's the truth. But it was like when I walked in that space, it reminded me of, when we see those movies, like the people that are being exorcised and their eyes are turning white and all that other stuff. It wasn't exactly like that, but it was very similar to it. And I could see all the spirits, like it was like a fog. You would have thought he was burning sage up in there or Bahur or something. It was like all these ghostly spirits. And when I walked in and he could see that, like I was legit and I could see him, he was like, oh my God, she can see them. She can. And it was so funny. And all these people he was telling all these people that I was coming a certain day and they started coming around. They don't speak no English. They speak Arabic and French. And they were like wanting to touch all on me. And I was like, oh,
I know. Don't be touching me now, people. That's right. That's enough. Don't be touching. I'm funny about touching me. Look, you want to talk to me? That's fine.
But yeah, so my husband unfortunately has had to deal with this in his life with his family. So whole nother country. His sister, saw things and he saw things. And when I went to his house, I think the third trip, I kept telling them, and he would deny it, that there was a spirit in that house. I kept saying, one was messing with my kid, and he was just trying to downplay it. Finally, after the third or fourth trip, he went ahead and told me, which I already knew, that when his dad built that house, it's multiple stories, that a man got crushed in the house when they were building it. And so I was like, you finally are going to tell me.
That's up,
I've been traumatized by this man this whole time. But yeah.
Places like Morocco are going to have so many more entities in places in the United. I mean, there's so much older. There's so much more history there. So many things that's going on. So many wars that endless people were killed in. This is going to be so much. I know a friend of mine, every time he goes to the Middle East, he said, man, dude, he said, everywhere I go is like just a horde of dead people. He said, I'm not used to that. He said, in the United States, I'll walk in a building, I see 2 or 3. He said, I forgot where he was at Baghdad Palace. He said he must have counted over 100. He said, it got to the point where he said, you know what, he told the lady, I don't want to do the tour, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
But he was an American, so he had to be escorted.
Yeah. And it's funny because I've spoken other languages that I don't understand what I'm saying when I'm reading clients. If their family members spoke Tagalog, Filipino language, I'll say words in that language. But it's weird. Telepathy works in translation also. I don't know how to explain this, but
it does. I don't know how it does.
Yeah, it's like you can be in another country hearing something. You're going to hear it in English, but they don't speak English at all. But what you're saying resonates with their language and what they're trying to say to you as a family member. So it does. Psychic intuition kind of Google translates for us.
I think the consciousness, or the overall consciousness that connects us all, somehow or another, it must just allow for translation. Or maybe if you're connected to it, that is the translation. Because not everybody, it doesn't work for everybody. I notice some people, when they hear things, they'll hear something and they'll try to say it out, but they still don't understand what they're hearing. But it seems like a lot of the good psychics just seem to be connected. And when they hear it in their same language. Actually, though, Renee told me just recently that she still hears it with an accent, though. I was like, what? She said, no. Yeah. She said, I hear it, but I hear it with an accent, but it's still in English. And she said, maybe it's not English. Maybe it's some type of psychic language that I don't understand. But she said, I'm hearing it in my native language. And she said, when I'm communicating back, obviously they're hearing it in their native language. language.
That's a good point. Very good point.
And she says when she communes with people from what she would consider the past, obviously English wasn't the big language back then. So it's the fact that they know what she's saying means a lot. And she says she runs across, but she says she can tell now the further she goes back because, one, they treat women differently. And two, the overall demeanor of the person is just much different than they would be today. Yes, I know what you mean. They're not woke. Okay, we're going to just move on from that. No, nobody from 500 years ago is going to be woke. Okay, just not even from 50 years ago. Just don't even worry about it.
Well, it's funny. I have had readings, like I'll be, especially in galleries. I do big groups of gallery readings. And I remember standing in front of this lady, and I remember a lot about her. She had 2 piercings on her boobs, and I was like, "Do you have 2 piercings?" She said, "Yeah," and I said, "Okay, enough." But her dad presented. They present for us mediums. We understand they present. Sometimes if you've got a structure where they're going to be on the left or the right, some people have them step back. I don't do all that. I'm just like, "Who are you? Are you dad? Are you grandpa? Who are you?" So her dad presented. And so he's there and he's talking to me, and he said, I will never forget this. He said, "I wouldn't normally talk to you." And I said, "Okay." And I said, "Your dad just said he wouldn't normally talk to me." And she bust out laughing. She said, "You got my dad because he was the biggest racist." And I said, "Well, obviously he's changed because he's talking to me and I'm chocolate." So it was a beautiful thing. It was healing for me to understand that the spirit world can soften hearts and change perspectives. And that it's a gift of love.
And you probably get to see it from a different angle from there than you do from here. A lot of times on Earth, you're just looking at everything straight on. You're not looking to see what causes things or it does things. I mean, I've seen the South change, which amazes me from what it was when I was a kid. But it's not that it don't have ways to go. But what I found out, because my son's in a mixed marriage, and what I found out from my friends that are in mixed relationships, don't go up north because they're far more racist than the South is, which surprised me. They were actually asked in Michigan and in Chicago, they were actually asked to leave nice restaurants because they're a mixed couple.
Oh, wow.
I was like, you got to be kidding me. And he's like, and I'm like, what? And he said, and everywhere we're going to South, everybody's like, yeah, okay, whatever. They give a good blank less. Well, it was like I was in New Jersey giving a lecture. And we just, I'm used to New Orleans and the way people are in New Orleans. So I'm sitting there. This little girl's coming up. She's taking really good care. We're like a party of 14. It's a big group of us making mess all over the place. This girl's working her ass off. So the guy brought me out a steak. And I said, dude, it's the most bland steak I ever brought it back. Well, he starts chewing her ass. And I'm like, so I just got to let it go. So it's not your business, Joe. Stay out of it. Stay out of it. So then he comes out and says, well, you know how ignorant these kind of people. Okay.
You lost it.
I lost it. I just lost it. He said, well, I don't understand. You're white. I said, what does that have to do with anything? Yeah. I said, this girl busted her ass. I said, she ain't the one that screwed up my steak. Your freaking chef is, because you don't know how to make anything with season. I said, I'm from New Orleans. Anything you're going to have in here is going to be bland to me. Maybe you should have come and asked me first. So then the chef comes up. He's all apologizing because he's black. And I said, you ain't going to apologize to me. He said, well, they should have told you I was from me because he's from New Orleans. So he said, well, hold on. He goes back and makes me, this freaking steak was fabulous. Yeah. And we tipped a girl, I think it was $250. And I said, I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to check on her. I said, I'm up here for a couple of weeks. I said, I'm going to check on her. If anything's happened to this girl, I said, we're going to come looking for you. I said, she's probably the best employee you have in the freaking place. Yeah. And she wrote me a letter. It was about 2 years later. She writes me a personal letter. And she said, I just want to tell you, Mr. Joe, he changed. And he changed a lot.
Good for him.
She said, you're the first person I ever stood up to him. Before that, he was just a bully. And I guess he looked at you 10, 12 big-ass guys that were at the table and said, uh-oh, I might have effed up here. She said he's changed. She's his assistant manager now. Well, she might be his manager now. She's on his way to being his GM. And so it's good to see. Not all stories work out that way, but I was surprised. I was just surprised how racist up north was. We fought the war, and I'm thinking, really? What happened? Did something go backwards or something? Please tell me what happened, because I'm still confused by it. Yeah. All my friends, I got a bunch of professional friends that live in Chicago. Almost all of them are moving back to New Orleans. Almost all but 2, they're moving to New York. They're like, I'm not staying up anymore. This is ridiculous. and I'm like, what are they being racist? Yeah, they're pretty racist up here. But then They get racist, and then we stick some crazy bitch like Lori Lightfoot in office that makes people more racist. She's like, she said, anyway, I'll be home soon. I was like, okay. But New Orleans is a weird place. What is it, Denise? Well, no, what do you mean? Is there more black ghosts than white ghosts? That's like the dumbest thing I ever heard. First off, that would be whatever area you may happen to be in. So let me say, and let's say we're in Kenya. You think there gonna be any white ghosts there? No. I mean, think about the question you just asked. You mean in New Orleans? I wouldn't know in New Orleans. It would be 50-50, I would say. Yes, I'd say it's 50-50. New York, probably 50-50.
I think for me, you know, I've gone to different places. Like I remember when I was in Alabama, I went to Prattville, Alabama to a plantation. And as soon as I walked on the soil, my people of color, they were probably slaves at some point, one dead person showed me a tree where they were hung. And they knew that I was not in their genre. You know, they knew I wasn't in that area, but they were able to communicate with me. So I think it is the place, okay, but it also is who they want to talk to, because you can go, you know, a white person, a black person, it doesn't matter the color of the spirit. If they don't have any connection to you, you're never going to know they're there. But if I walk in, I mean, I always say, if I walk into a plantation, if it's a dead slave, they're going to talk to me. But that could be true for you too, just because of your genetic makeup or your intuition. I've walked places where there could be a lot of Caucasian ghosts and they don't talk to me, or they do talk to me. It's all situational. But I don't think you know, when we look at the dead that walk that we don't see, that we interact with, that we don't even have, I mean, probably 99% of them, we don't even interact with them. I think they're all different shapes, colors, and sizes.
I agree. Well, what is that, Jackie? That question's kind of, you might want to restructure that question there. No, you mean down here? It's weird in the South. I mean, there's ghosties everywhere, and like she just said, some are willing to talk to you, some are not, and sometimes it's just leftover energy, that your residual energy that you see. You'll come by it at the same time every night, and it'll happen, or it happens fairly regularly. It's nothing you can interact with. It's just residual energy is all it is. It may be a particular event. It might have been someone dying. It might have been someone drinking. It might have been someone laughing. It could be a lot of things. No, we got to go pretty soon, guys. We already went over, so y'all get some more questions, and we're going to get out of here. This lady got a life. Her husband's probably saying, "Woman, get off the damn computer for a minute." He's probably like my wife is. Do you ever get off the damn computer? What? So what? No, she told you earlier why she became a psychic medium. Go back and listen. Yes, kind of like keep up with the pace, people. Pensacola Con, go down there and check her out. I know a good chunk of y'all that are listening tonight are locals. I know the show does anywhere from 1 to 3 million listeners, but a good chunk of who's listening tonight are going to be. And when I say locals, I mean the Gulf South, not New Orleans. Well, it's different for me. I consider the Gulf South the South. I consider it one state. See, I really think it should be one state from Jacksonville, Florida to Houston, Texas, from Atlanta. That should just be one state. Yes. Yeah, the Gulf South state. Yes, the fun state. The rest, let me tell you what. I don't even go to northern Mississippi, okay? Because they don't like nobody. They ain't got nothing to do with color. It ain't about racism, about you don't belong there, and you don't belong there. And that's just how they mean it. You don't belong there. I've been asked more than one time. Shit, I was in Jackson, the freaking capital. What you doing here, boy? And I looked up at him and said, "Excuse me, I'm old enough to be your daddy. Don't you call me boy again." And he's like, "Well, what you doing here?" I said, "I was coming to do some business at the Capitol." Well, you you better don't cause no trouble while you're here. I'm thinking, just because I'm from the Gulf, and I'm in Mississippi at the time, living down here right now in the past, and they're acting like I ain't even from the same state they are. Oh, it's like that in Alabama too, people. Oh, there's parts of Alabama and Georgia that you got to be careful in. And it ain't, like I said, it ain't got nothing to do with your color. It's just you don't belong there. There are still parts of the South where, unfortunately, you don't belong. When I see certain type sounds, I just drive on through. I don't even slow down. Man. Well, we've talked about doing like Gulf South tours. They got these in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama now. They got these restaurant tours or hotel tours you can go to. A day, it's a weekend trip is what it is. And one of my friends got the idea we should start doing, make these into ghost tours, because there's a lot of haunted stuff in Mississippi, a lot of weirdly haunted stuff in Mississippi, a lot of hangings in Mississippi, people. Sorry to say, but back in the day, there was some hanging SOBs down here. No, they hung everybody out. They didn't discriminate. They hung everybody. They didn't care. What town you from? New Orleans. You getting hung? Yeah, no business being in that part of. No, there's things like that. There's different parts of the state that I would say if you wanted to go hang out in, check out haunted stuff here. Florida's not like that. Florida's a different kind of state. Florida's just
Florida man and Florida woman. There's nothing that we'd be surprised about in Florida. I think it's pretty crazy and safe too.
Yeah, it's for the most part I find Florida to be pretty safe. The people ain't the problem. The panthers, the alligators, the black bears. That's the freaking problem. we in where were we? We in somewhere on the other side of Destin. Oh no, we were actually on somewhere on the other side of Panama City. And we cruising out and it says black bear warning. Black bears may be seen. We're like 25 feet and there's one standing in the road. I'm like, well, watch this, turn around. I don't want to shoot one, people. Gators. I freaked my wife out one night. I'm cruising down this back way out in the Irish Bayou. I'm doing about 80. And I zinged by. I said, what the hell was that? So I stopped, turn on the lights, turn around, look, there's an alligator. He's stretching from one side of the street to the other side of the street.
Mm-hmm. Stunning.
Yeah, this guy, he's 18, 20 feet. I'm like, uh-oh. I said, well, we're leaving now. He would have ate my car like it was nothing. I think I was driving a Nissan back then. He'd have ate it like it was nothing. There's lots of, if you're brave enough, there's places in the swamp that are haunted. They got old abandoned plantations from back 300 years ago. I don't know if I'd want to go back there. I don't know. No telling what's back there. And they don't usually just abandon plantations. They either burn down or they get restored. Yeah, one or the other.
Or they sink them.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
Reese is asking, have you ever done an investigation on a paddle wheel? Oh, a steamboat. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I don't know. Have you ever done one?
I have not. I think it would be cool to do that. But I have not. I think that the water can sometimes be a very wonderful, powerful force of energy, definitely with intuition to aid it. But I have not focused on doing an investigation on the water. I have looked at and talked to a lot of bodies that have drowned, unfortunately. But yeah, I'd definitely be interested in that.
Let's see. I think the Delta Queen would be the only one big enough to do it on. I mean, they got other paddle wheelers, people, but the Delta Queen is one of the ones you can spin 70. You can take it from down south to up north or up north to down south. I think it's a round trip. It's a 7-day trip. It takes you up to through Tennessee and into Kentucky. Well, you can only go so far. It's not like down here. The river starts getting shallow as it gets up around Memphis and St. Louis. Yeah, and see, I didn't know that until I was in the Navy, that Memphis and St. Louis are actually across the river from each other. Tells you what I know. No, I was stationed up there in the Navy, Millington, Tennessee. Yeah, that's where I was stationed at. It was landlocked. That's what I was saying earlier in the show. It was for being in the Navy, there was no water anywhere. There's lots of jets, but there was no water anywhere. I don't know, Christopher. Why don't you set one up? We'll come hang out. You want us to come hang out on the Delta Queen? I hear it's a nice ship. Yeah, set it up. Yes, we ain't cheap, though. I'm just telling you ahead of time. No cheap dates around here. One more question, guys. Oh, you got 3 minutes, so you maybe get 2 in. Dravanda. All right. Hey, I didn't see the NA. Give me a break. What do you got for us? So how would you deal with a evil presence? Well, she said, I don't want to call it an evil presence, but it's like an irritating presence. It likes to pull the covers off my kids, aggravate the dog. But she says it's never really done anything harmful, like in being harmful. Just it seems to be just somebody who wants to be aggravating. That's the word she used.
Okay. This is the second house that's been in. So she might have moved.
Uh-oh, you brought it with you.
Let me see. Okay, so the first thing, this is gonna seem so skeleton key when I tell her this, but it just needs to be done. So not chalk, but salt the front door, even though you don't go in the front door. Salt the pathway over the front door. Just a little lawn salt. You can just go outside and sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. I like to use frankincense and myrrh because that's just from my basic, background as Christianity, so it resonates with me. I would put a little frankincense and myrrh, a little drop, the essential oil in a spray bottle, shake, 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 go throughout the house, almost like you're blessing it with prayer. For some reason in the boys' room, because I see a little boy, spray the closet too, spray around, spray under the bed, go in your room, which is over here, spray, 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 spray the bathroom, which feels like it's down the hallway. And you can do the whole house, but then go out the front door, okay? It is something that's followed you, honey, not the children. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of why it's attached to you. But sometimes we have family members that we've been around, people that have hurt themselves. It doesn't mean that they're trapped or they were murdered, one of the two. Doesn't mean that they're trapped, but they're doing things to be not nice. And that's what you're dealing with, okay?
There you go, guys. What the? But I remember the frankincense and myrrh from something else we used to do. All right, screen, stop that. It's there you go, guys. All right, we had 20 after. We gotta go. I'm sure Michelle's cussing us.
I'm good. I'd like to see if she can respond back to that.
Hold on. She did actually type something back. What did you put on here? Oh, she actually said that the way this started was the toys in the closet, like the stuffed animals and stuff, kept coming out, and they would be sitting in certain places on the floor. She thought it was a dog going in there and putting it. So she put a clip on a doorknob to keep it shut. And she noticed 2 days, she put a camera in her son's room. And she said a couple of days later, she noticed they were back out sitting, facing in certain directions. And they were sitting there and the thing was still clipped on the door. She was like, well, what? So she went back, of course, and looked, and there was nothing there. And she said all it was like what did you say? How did you say it? Not a flash. What was it? Go back, scroll back up for me. Oh, hold on, I'll do it. She said it was like a blip, and then they were there. So it was like she's watching the film, and it just kind of blipped a little bit, and then they were sitting there. And she said she did this 4 or 5 times. So she said, yeah, she said she'll definitely try it out. Anything. She said she put it on the kid's door, the closet door.
Tell her she can just mist it all in the room, but I focus on the closet, like it started there. And it's not about the kids. They're just getting, like when they started messing with me, they didn't mess with me, they messed with my kids. That's going to get my attention.
Yeah, it's going to get your attention.
Yeah, this is someone who's trying to get your attention. They're taunting you, really, honestly, but they're using your kids. And I don't like that at all. Yeah,
and she said when she puts everything back in the closet, so a couple of times she's drawn a bath and seen this, and she's fixed it. And she went back, and she said she'd go back in the bathroom. The water would be off. And she said once or twice it was probably a good idea. She would have flooded the house. And she said, but she's got a habit of putting her stuff out on her vanity top for after she gets out of the shower. She said it would always be rearranged. She said and it just creeped her out because it was rearranged. She said, her old man when he's on patrol, when he's out in the military, he's not home for 9 or 10 months at a time. And she said, yeah, so it just creeps her out. She said, but nothing's, it's never tried to touch her or anything like that. It's she said one time she did find a puff of hair from her hairbrush on the floor. But she said, I don't know if that was from them. Maybe I did it and I realized it. And see, that's the other thing we all tend to do. We automatically start trying to make excuses for the out of the ordinary. Bad people, you should investigate the out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to kick them out. So you're evicted now, dude. Get out of my house. I don't know. I live with witches, so I don't worry about stuff like that. I live with witches and I work with witches. This girl who runs my stations, well, she's we won't call her a witch. We'll call her something else. Yes, but there are several witches on the network too. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, I don't worry about that stuff. They keep me pretty safe. They want to keep the boss safe. Yes, I might have good plans for him in the future. So they want to keep me safe. No, really. I know y'all talking about Kirby. I remember reading him a couple of weeks ago when he came and he was telling us about real quick. So Kirby lives in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He's just a regular everyday Joe, got an everyday 9-to-5 job. He's a manager, actually a supervisor manager for this company. And he said, though, so he'll get up in the morning and he's kind of, I don't know what you call it, nitpicky about what he does. So he lays all the stuff out the night before. He puts out his pants, his shirts, everything he's going to wear, all the way down to the tie clip and everything else. He puts it all out. Then he sets all the stuff up for his breakfast. Anyway, he gets his whole morning set up. He said since he moved into this new house, he said it seems to be now that it's never the same as he leaves it. He said, I've never seen anything. I've never heard anything. He said, I got cameras in my house. He said, I got animals. Even my animals haven't seen anything. And I said, well, how do you know if your animals see anything? Because when it happens, if they see something, they're going to be like, and then, when it goes away, I said, have you ever heard your animals barking and meow or anything? And then he said, well, yeah. I said, well, then you don't know if they didn't see anything, do you? Even though my dogs, they'd bark at a spirit and go back to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
They would too. They'd be like, "Oh, it's a spirit, Dad." Okay, it's time to go back to bed. I don't know. Go ahead.
I'm not sure that I get anything about the Kirby situation with the bed, but they immediately take me to his throat and his chest. When you mentioned his name, I went throat, chest. I would tell Kirby, unless he's a real thin guy and he doesn't have any problems with snoring, he needs to be checked for sleep apnea, because I feel like I'm standing over his bed and I feel like I'm watching him stop breathing during the time that he's sleeping, like he's choking, unless this thing is choking or he's having some problems with that while he's sleeping. People will get your attention in a lot of different ways, and sometimes it's changes in your health or in the physical body, your spiritual body, something. There's something that they're trying to tell you. It's not so much a bad thing.
So right off the bat, he says, I love this woman. He said, ever since I moved into this house, I started having like scratchy throats, aggravated throats. He said, I've had the house checked out for mold. He said, I had him come test my vents and everything else. He said, doesn't seem to be anything or any allergens in the house. He said, but since I moved, he said, it's gotten to the point where he's actually considered selling the house. He said, because when he's out, when he's not at home and he's everywhere else, it only happens when he's at home. He said, my throats don't bother me. I can go out and eat, do whatever I want. He said, but when I get in the house, usually about 15 minutes after the house, I'm kind of like, just it's like a subtle cough. And he said, as the day goes on, it seems to be more of a cough. And he said, and I have woke up in the middle of the night coughing my ass off, and then went and got a drink and went back to sleep. So he thinks this is what, about a 250-year-old house. So it's a pretty old house. But dude, I mean, I'd go with Ericka saying you might just need to move or get rid of whatever's in your house.
So also try this, because I had an issue. I don't know who you would contact, but get an air scrubber. Positive ions cleanse the air, blah, blah, blah. A lot of times they use it for mold. They're very cheap to rent.
Yeah,
I've rented one here in Pensacola for like $75 for a whole night. And then I would move it around, like put it in your room, move it around. Try that, see if that doesn't help. But also get tested for sleep apnea. If it's not sleep apnea, it might be, sweetie, you're eating a lot of spicy foods and you don't even realize that the reflux is coming up, which making the throat itchy. And they show it to me as sleep apnea, like it's being clogged where you're like you're choking. So elevate the pillow. One thing that I can tell you if it's reflux, get a chewable Pepto-Bismol, chew it that night. And if you wake up with black chalk in your mouth, because I've had this happen to me when I had reflux, you definitely are having reflux issues, not paranormal. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, go get checked out, because I've had acid reflux myself. So, well, no, they. I remember when I went to the doctor, they found 3 scars in my throat, and she's like, "Ooh, this could be cancer." Of course, they checked out, and it wasn't. She said, "Well, no, you got acid reflux." They put me on these little pills that look like a pillow. They worked out. So
yeah,
actually, I don't have to take them anymore.
Too, just to be safe. But I get the choking feeling, and it's something to do with, those things, okay? Reflux or sleep apnea.
So where are you, by the way? Did you ever say? I thought you were down here, but you're not, are you? Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about in Los Angeles. I went down to film for Ancient Aliens, and that's the neighborhood they filmed in. It looks a lot like New Orleans. Oh, yeah, it's an old ancient-ass neighborhood like down here. Yeah, it's got the old rounded, yeah. I remember seeing it. But, well, the guy whoever's house it was really nice that they did it in. It is nice. But you know what? It was like living down here. You could smell the moldy, chalky. When you live in these old houses, especially if you've had them renovated, they get dust in them and shit. And acid reflux is a big thing if you eat. And from what you just wrote, obviously you eat spicy food like a goofball. So. Well, what do you mean? No, see, people down here we're weaned on it. So we start out eating it like at age 2. So we build up immunity to it. You poor people probably don't even know to get a hot food. And let me be honest with you, California don't have any hot food. They just don't. I got out of boot camp. I was craving Popeye's chicken. I went and found me a Popeye's. I said, give me some spicy chicken. I was only 18 at the time. I was ready, man. I got a big old 4-piece. I bit in a chicken, brought it back. I said, I want the spicy. He said, that is the spicy. I said, no, that's not spicy. So the manager comes out and explains to me that different Popeyes have different recipes because of the states they're in. I'm like, what? I said, I want some cayenne spicy Popeyes. Nope, no, I'm getting it in Cali. Still ain't getting it. I tried last time, can't get it. So that's just one of them things. But that's good advice. Go get it checked out, guys. No, Jenny, we got to go. Next time she's on, y'all can ask her millions of questions. We just needed to get to know the lady, see who she is, see if she levitates around the house when she's talking and stuff. I've seen a couple of things moving around behind her and stuff. So,
one other thing, that guy, I think he has some cremation in his house.
Oh, yeah.
Pets or something. I don't think it's a real person. I'm not sure exactly because I can't see it now, but it felt like it was cremation of an animal. So I'd like to know if that's true.
Go. You don't know? How long you been in this house?
No, like his stuff, not theirs.
Oh, she wants to know if you got it. You don't like pets? Well, bite the right whitey cheeky. How you like that?
Well, okay, so I can be wrong on that. That's not a problem.
So wait, he's still writing something. Hold on, let's give him. God damn, he's writing a damn book down here. Oh, so he said he don't know if this counts or not. He was dating this girl, Laureen, and she used to carry her dead pet cat around in a what? In a Hershey's Cocoa can? Is that what you're talking about? You're kidding me, right? No, really? Okay, it's probably a good thing. Reason you got rid of her, man. Oh, she left you. That's even worse, man. The girl with the cocaine can full of cat.
I can't.
Oh, wait. Hold on. What did you just write? Wait. Right. I got my damn screen jumped. Wait a minute. You're kidding me, right? So he's saying the day after they moved in, they were unpacking, and she dropped a cocoa can on the counter and dumped half the cat on the floor.
Okay.
You're kidding me, right? You're just messing with it. He's just messing with it.
I'm still gonna love him, but if it's not in the house, I can't really validate that. It's just what I see.
Yes, I don't believe you, man.
I see cremation in the house. So if it's not there, you're not gonna hurt my feelings, honey. My boundaries and my feelings are tough as New Orleans.
Oh well, yeah, you can't.
Woo, but yeah.
Jackson. So one thing I learned early on. I'm pretty gifted, but I learned something early on. You're never going to always be right. A lot of times you can be right a lot, though. Don't get me wrong. But every now and then they're going to be something. And sometimes you turn out not to be right, but then later on you turn out to be right, which is really weird. I've seen that happen a few times too. Yeah, we've had cases where we thought it was this, and then it really acted like it wasn't. And then a year or two down the line, it actually turned out to be well, like in Pensacola with Ed Walters. Yes. Golf Breeze, I should say. Yes, they thought all this about Ed Walters, and then they tried to debunk it and say it wasn't true. And then the other crew came down, and damn thing came and seen him while they were down there. So they were like, "Okay, it's true." It's things like that happen. Yes. No, we gotta go. No, y'all send them. She got an email or go over to her websites, check her out. No, we're gonna go down and see her in September, but we'll probably have her on again before then. That's 2 months away, so we'll probably have her on. And I'll tell you what y'all do. We'll bring her back in 3 or 4 weeks if she's not crazy busy. And we'll let you pick out one personal question you can ask her. Not her, your personal, not her personal. No, because y'all just going to ask her if she's married. We already know what that answer is. No, really, I'm not kidding y'all. Y'all can ask one personal thing, and if she catch something, then she can tell you. How's that? But if she does that, y'all got to come visit us in Pensacola. Yeah, I know I'm a no good bastard. That's just how I am. It's just how I am. Well, no, I'm serious. Come down and visit. But we'll ask her to come back in a couple of weeks, and y'all can harass the poor lady. And because Michelle's going to put an evil spell on all of y'all for keeping us running this late. She is. She's going to make us all disappear into some other Netherlands or something. I don't trust them crazy redheads, man. No. No. But anything you want to tell them before we go, Ericka? One more piece of advice, or don't tell them where the websites are again. Tell them where Pensacola stuff is again. Tell them where the websites are again.
So definitely come down to Pensacola, where I do ghost tours. I have a business called Pensacola History and Hauntings. We do a lot of ghost tours locally. We do those pretty much weekly, and you can get information about that at PensacolaGhostEvents.com, or you can visit me and learn more about me and my team, Second Sight Paranormal, at SecondSightParanormal.com, PsychicDiva.com, or Cold Case, like Cold Case of Beer, but Psychic.com.
I think I like the Psychic Diva one the best. Second Sight Paranormal I've been hearing about for years, though. On and off here and there. We got so many paranormal shows on the network that it's easy to keep track. Them and who is it? Paraflix? Is that who they are? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh no, Johnny. No, I don't work with them like that. No, sorry. Got to give to get, my friend. That's how life is. I don't want to be mean, but that's how it is. On that note, we got to go, guys and girls. Be sure to go hang out with Emily and Amelia and see who they got on tonight, because I don't have it in front of me. So y'all go check it out and tell them hi and tell them you love them and send them all kind of good wishes. No telling who they got on. They do everybody and everything. Oh, yeah, they do everybody and everything. They have a huge repertoire of guests, and Michelle's done so much television that she knows everybody and their great dead grandmama. So y'all be sure to go check them out. Tell them hi. Tell them Joe sent y'all. Until next time we have Ericka on, y'all be sure to tell Ericka hi. Send her some love. Take your asses down the pen. So now y'all got two things. Go vote. Okay? Go vote. And go see Ericka in Pensacola. And I'm glad you said that, because I got to play that as we get out of here. So guys and girls, thanks again for hanging out with us tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show. Any moans, groans, gripes, bitches, or complaints, write to Michelle DeRoche. Good night, everybody.
Looking for stories that are fresh and new? Dark fantasy, humor, space exploration, time travel, cyberpunk, alternate history, and more. They're in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology, from 24 award-winning authors and illustrators, plus art and writing tips and bonus stories. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Buy your copy at galaxypress.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold.
All right, everybody. It's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcasts. There's an amazing show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. The Outer Realm in the category of Best Female Hosted Podcast. The Outer Realm is a very popular show hosted by Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano, which boasts millions of listeners each week who are well known for and have been complimented on their very laid-back, roundtable style of interviewing. Together, this dynamic duo brings you the best of the best with guests from around the world who are well-versed within their respective fields of ufology, paranormal, esoteric, and other areas of high strangeness, and more. So go to podcastawards.com to nominate The Outer Realm in the category Best Female Hosted Podcast. That's podcastawards.com, and please take a moment and do it now. Hey there. It's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcasts. There's an amazing show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. The News on the Flip Side, in the category of Politics and News. News on the Flip Side is a much different news and political program which is not deemed as opinion news. Listen as Joe Montaldo brings to you just the facts from trusted sources, which will allow you, the people, to make up your own minds on the various stories being reported on. Go to podcastawards.com to nominate News on the Flip Side in the category of Politics and News. That's podcastawards.com, and please take a moment and do it now.
It's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcasts. There's an amazing show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast, in 3 categories: education, storyteller drama, and art. For 4 years, the Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast has provided advice and tips from international best-selling authors, world-class artists, contest judges and winners, and industry professionals, based on the world-famous Writers of the Future contest created in 1983 by L. Ron Hubbard to help the aspiring writer and artist, no matter their age. It is dedicated to the future of storytelling and art by showing that it is never too late to start, and those who make it are those who never give up. Go to podcastawards.com to nominate the Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast in any or all of the 3 categories: education, storyteller drama, and art. That's podcastawards.com, and please take a moment and go out and vote now. It's time for you to get out and nominate. All right, everybody, it's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcast. Yes, it is that time of year again. There's a show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards, UFO Undercover, in the category of entertainment. UFO Undercover brings you some of the most revealing and current research that is being done with respect to alien abductions and contact. Host Joe Montaldo has been an abduction researcher for over 35 years and is uniquely qualified to bring you live interviews with some of the most well-known researchers in ufology. Go to podcastawards.com to nominate UFO Undercover in the category of entertainment. That's podcastawards.com, and please take a moment and get out and vote now.
Looking for stories that are fresh and new? Dark fantasy, humor, space exploration, time travel, cyberpunk, alternate history, and more. They're in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology. From 24 award-winning authors and illustrators, plus art and writing tips and bonus stories. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Buy your copy at galaxypress.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold.
You are listening to UPRN, United Public Radio Network, coming to you live on 105.3 right up to 107.7 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans.